Chapter 31-27. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't know if Monica could confirm their relationship through a pendant. Judging from Monica's expression, she probably could. However, even though Monica confirmed that Ramush Agler was her brother, she didn't trust him. Because she didn't know if Ramush Agler was telling the truth. She was naturally wary of this brother who she'd never met and had come out of nowhere. Ramund had said that her father wanted to kill her, but Monica was still more willing to trust her father. Not this brother who'd suddenly visited and attacked them first. The contestant didn't know if he should stay or leave. The contestants didn't know whether they should stay or leave. After all, according to the rules, Chen Zhao's attack meant that he was eliminated. After all, according to the rules, if Chen Zhao attacked, it meant that he was eliminated. Chen Zhao glanced at the contestant and then notified the eliminated team members. He didn't waste any time. The contestant knew that it was too late. Chen Zhao glanced at the contestant and then notified the eliminated team members. The current situation was somewhat complicated. Monica and Chen Zhao didn't trust Ramund Egler. And if they were real siblings, Monica would definitely not be able to lay her hands on Ramush Agoli. Just then, a flying magical beast descended from the sky. On top of the flying magical beast stood a man. The flying magical beast looked like a huge bird, but it had small claws on its wings. It lay on the ground. Its mouth was like a bird's beak, but there were rows of sharp teeth on its upper and lower jaws. It looked like a winged dragon. It was huge, at least 30 to 40 tons. It was like a small mountain on the ground. It emitted a powerful and terrifying aura. It was a god-level magical beast. After the man dismounted from the flying magic beast, the flying magic beast obediently lay down beside the man. Ramund, you still haven't taken Monica away? Taser. Ramund was a bit awkward. They were brothers, but his younger brother, Taser, seemed to be the leader. Seeing the corpses of the magical beasts, Tace Agel frowned. Ramush, you lost? Taser, he's very powerful, Ramush Agel reminded. Don't find excuses for your incompetence, Taser said. Monica, come here. Tate Agler looked at Monica and said in a commanding tone. Monica was unmoved. Clearly, she had no feelings for either Lamont or Taser. Ramund Egler was still all right. At least his attitude was not that unacceptable. But this second brother's attitude was quite uncomfortable. Come here. Tace Agler emphasized. Chen Zhao snorted. The magical beast next to Tess suddenly spread its wings and blocked Tess Agler. The wings of the magical beast emitted a heavy explosive sound, as if something heavy had smashed into them. Tess Agel's expression darkened. The demonic beast beside him spread its wings to the fullest like a fighting rooster. The demonic beast let out a high-pitched cry, its voice as loud as a bell. In an instant, hundreds of flying magical beasts were summoned. The scene that blotted out the sky caused Monica's expression to change. She couldn't help but look back at Chen Zhao worriedly. The two brothers seemed to have a way to control magical beasts. The magical beasts that Ramund Egler controlled could neutralize the enemy's small world and make the enemy's small world lose its effect. One had to admit that this ability was very effective against the top Shang-Qing experts. Of course, this ability could only be effective against those who had just entered Shang-Qing. For example, any one of the 8 referees could beat Ramund Egler up at any moment. Tace's ability was even more special. Chen Zhao could sense that the magical beasts summoned by Tess Agel had created small worlds of various sizes according to their own strength. Apart from the original god-level magical beast, the other magical beasts' small worlds weren't big. They were a dozen meters, 20 meters, or even 30 meters. However, the small worlds of the magical beasts actually merged with each other. Then, they spread out with the dragon hawk as the center. Scram if you don't want to die, Tyler said arrogantly. I think I know why your father wants to get rid of you. What an annoying personality. Hearing Chen Zhao mention their father, Tyler Agler was even more furious. The dragon hawk beside him felt its master's anger and also screeched at Chen Zhao. You won't blame me if I kill him, right? Chen Zhao asked, turning his head. Monica's expression was somewhat hesitant. She couldn't be completely sure, but she could vaguely feel that they were indeed her brothers. Mr. Chen, can you please have mercy? Fine. Chen Zhao nodded. What a joke. I need him, shut up. Suddenly, Chen Zhao's voice boomed like thunder. The territory on the Dragonhawk disintegrated instantly. The magical beasts in the sky also fell like rain. The sky fell and the earth cracked. The brothers, Tyler Agler and Ramon Agler, were horrified by what they saw. The world really seemed to be collapsing. The two brothers sat on the ground. They seemed to have lost all strength and couldn't stand up. They couldn't even raise their arms. Terror. It was a terror that was imprinted in the depths of their souls. In an instant, they felt absolute suppression. And a horrifying scene. It was a scene of doomsday. They didn't know if it was real or just an illusion. Even the territory collapsed. They didn't understand why it was like this at all. As for the dragon-wing bird, it lay on the ground, trembling. Standing beside Chen Zhao, Monica didn't understand what had happened. She only saw Chen Zhao roar. But other than that, she didn't feel anything else. What had happened? Okay, let's go, Chen Zhao said calmly. Monica looked at the two trembling brothers in front of her and nodded silently. Just as she was about to leave with Chen Zhao, Tyler suddenly shouted, "Wait!" Chen Zhao turned his head and looked at Tyler. What? Do you really want me to kill you? When Tyler looked at Chen Zhao, his eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. Don't let Morris come into contact with Monica. Tyler Agler said. Perhaps it was best for Monica to stay by Chen Zhao's side. Of course, the main reason was that they couldn't do anything about it. I'll only protect her during the competition, Chen Zhao said calmly. Or, give me a reason why your father wants to kill Monica. Chapter 31-28. Ramush Eigler and Tace Eigler shook their heads. We don't know either. 25 years ago, he attacked us without any reason. Chen Zhao smiled and didn't continue asking. 25 years ago, they might not have known. But today, 25 years later, they must know. Otherwise, how would they know that Moraiser wanted to kill Monica? If Chen Zhao could think of this, the meticulous Monica could too. Chen Zhao and Monica left. The expressions of the two brothers were somewhat unsightly. Taser, what do you think the old man is trying to do? In any case, they won't have any good intentions. Tess said with a cold expression, we had better find suitable magical beasts as soon as possible to recover our strength. If before that, Taser suddenly paused, as if he had realized something. Go. Leave this place immediately. Taser's expression became anxious and terrified. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Maurice Eigler. Their father. Moraiser Agel strolled over, and the surrounding plants automatically made way for him. Tace Agler and Ramush Agler's expressions changed. Fear, shock, and bewilderment. Do you think the $200 million was well spent? Mariah Egler smiled and looked at his two sons. Did you release the news? Did you purposely leak the news that we're going to kill Monica? Tace Agler's eyes were filled with fear and resentment. Not only that, but the $200 million also helped me solve a lot of problems. Maurice Eigel's plan was to deliberately spread the news and attract his two sons. What he didn't expect was that Chen Zhao would also help him destroy the abilities of his two sons. Otherwise, even he would have to put in a lot of effort. After all, both of his sons' abilities were extremely difficult to deal with. But now, Chen Zhao had helped him solve most of his problems. Chen Zhao's best guess was that both his sons and Chen Zhao would be heavily injured. Or, Chen Zhao would die in the hands of his two sons, and then Chen Zhao would be like a mantis stalking a cicada. Tess Agler suddenly laughed. Old man, you haven't won yet. Do you think you're very smart? Morither Agler looked at his second son disapprovingly. Isn't the current situation enough to explain the problem? Or do you still have the strength to fight back? We can't beat you, but as long as Monica is under the protection of that referee, you won't be able to succeed. Heh heh. As long as I get what I want from you, I won't fear anyone. The Agle family will rise again in my hands. You want the power of Amantha? Come and get it yourself. The two brothers were obviously prepared to resist stubbornly, even if they knew it was futile. But as long as he could make his father suffer, even if it was just to buy time, it would be fine. How stubborn. Morither Agler looked at his two sons unhappily. The next moment, green liquid began to drip from Morither Agler's palms. When the green liquid touched the plants on the ground, they began to grow crazily. After the plants grew to a certain extent, they began to interweave with each other, forming human shapes. The humanoid figures of these plants all had their own domains. It was completely different from Taylor and Ramush's power. Morither Agler's power was in the domain of plants. It looked similar to the domain that Taser had bestowed upon the magical beasts. In fact, it was completely different. Morither Agler's domain should be called the anti-domain. It was the nemesis of all domains, and it was even more effective against Taser and Ramush. The so-called anti-domain meant that when it came into contact with a regular domain, both would be annihilated at the same time. The power of annihilation was very terrifying, especially for the one with the domain. It would be annihilated directly from the body. Of course, Morither Agler would be affected too. But he happened to have a way to resist annihilation. So once the positive and negative domains were annihilated, the one who died was usually the other party. But Morither Agler's power was not perfect yet. Only after combining the power of Taser and Ramush could his power truly reach a perfect state. A humanoid made of plants raised its hand, and branches shot towards Taser and Ramush. The dragonhawk beside Taser flapped its wings, creating a whirlwind. The branches could not get close. But the other plant humanoids also shot their branches at the dragonhawk. In the blink of an eye, the dragonhawk was tightly bound. The dragonhawk struggled a few times as a token gesture. But it soon calmed down. Not long after, the dragonhawk lost control of itself. It then became Morither Agler's puppet. The dragonhawk's domain merged with the humanoid plant's anti-domain. An even more terrifying power was brewing on the dragonhawk. The domain around the dragonhawk became colorful, but the air was distorted. Taser and Ramush quickly retreated. What a wonderful power. Even though it's an incomplete fusion, it's still such a wonderful scene. I really can't imagine how powerful I'll be after I perfectly fuse all of your powers. After being controlled, the dragonhawk suddenly opened its mouth and shot out a ball of energy. This ball of energy contained the power of annihilation. Go away. Ramush pushed Taser away and placed his palms in front of him. When the annihilation energy flew in front of him, Ramush also released his power at the same time. His power was to neutralize the domain. But he could only use his own power to weaken the annihilation energy a little. The next moment, his palms were crushed and evaporated by the annihilation energy. Fortunately, Morither Agler did not intend to completely destroy Ramush and Taser. Otherwise, this attack would have directly evaporated them. Taser, take my things away. Ramush knelt on the ground in pain. His arms had been completely annihilated. Taser's expression was unsettled. He looked at his father with eyes full of hatred. Hurry. You only have a chance if you obtain my power. Ramush knew that he no longer had a chance. But his hatred for his father was greater than anything else. Even if he died, even if he lost everything, he would not hesitate. Taser suddenly pierced through Ramush's chest. Ramush's face twitched. He looked down at Taser's arm and laughed bitterly. Kill him. Or destroy that thing. Taser pulled out his bloody arm. In his palm was a black metal heart. The black metal heart dissolved in Taser's palm and turned into black liquid that seeped under Taser's skin. Ramush smiled. How wonderful. However, his smile froze and he fell to the ground. Taser looked at his father with tears in his eyes. I want you to die. Hee. Morizer Egler smiled. You know, I could have directly taken your power, but I didn't. Do you know why? Chapter 31-29. Is this real? Monica stared at Tess Agler in disbelief. Chen Zhao also looked at Tess Agler. Do you have anything to explain? Tess Agler shook his head. No. Chen Zhao nodded and turned to Morizer. I'm going to take him back for interrogation. Mr. Morizer, you don't have any objections, right? He's from the Agel family and my son, Morizer said firmly. This is the Agel family's territory. I have the right and reason to punish him. Chen Zhao chuckled. Mr. Morizer, maybe my tone made you misunderstand. I'm not discussing with you. Are you going to interfere with the Agel family's business? This is the competition venue. As the referee, I have the right to punish and rule anyone here. Mr. Chen, don't you understand? This is my territory. I don't mind changing the leader of the Agel family. Chen Zhao's eyes glinted fiercely. Mr. Chen, I respect you, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. I hope you understand this. Yes, I definitely understand. Chen Zhao nodded. But you should be afraid. I've never been a talkative person. I don't like to waste time with people either. I prefer to fight. Morizer Agel's palm started to gather the anti-domain. The anti-domain sphere flashed with black light and emitted a terrifying aura. Taser Egler had to die. Maurice Eigel did not intend to be secretive and put on an act anymore. He had to make a choice in a more forceful manner. As long as he obtained Taser's power and Monica's power, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. He would no longer be afraid of anyone. Even if he were to face the Big Six, he would have the right to speak. Chen Zhao felt that Morizer Agel's power was somewhat familiar. It was the power of his inner world. But it wasn't complete. Chen Zhao could also release his inner world. He could restore the environment of his inner world. But Morizer Agel only released a portion of his inner world's power. Mr. Chen, one last question. Are you really prepared to be my enemy? Chen Zhao laughed mockingly. Are you sure you have the strength to ask me this question? Maurice snorted and pushed his palm at Chen Zhao. The anti-domain energy ball shot toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao reached out to take it. Tess Agel's expression changed drastically, and he shouted, "Don't touch," but it was too late. Chen Zhao's palm had already reached the anti-domain energy ball. But the next moment, both Tess and Maurice stared at Chen Zhao, dumbfounded. Chen Zhao used his body to grab the anti-territory energy ball, but he wasn't hurt at all. The anti-domain energy ball was also balanced in Chen Zhao's palm. He didn't hurt Chen Zhao, nor did he lose control. Neither of them knew that the reverse domain they were talking about was actually their inner world. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't know that they called this the reverse domain. How is that possible? Meriwether stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. This was too illogical. No one, no matter, could remove the counter-domain. But why was he able to use his flesh and blood to dispel the counter-domain and remain unharmed? How did you do it? How? Chen Zhao thought for a second. I didn't do anything. What do you think I should do? What can this thing do? Hurt me? Or kill me? Meriwether Agel couldn't accept this. He put his palms together and more anti-domain energy balls appeared around him. Is that all you can do? Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at Meriwether Agel. Although Meriwether Agel had materialized his inner world, it didn't have any attributes. He could only materialize it with this kind of energy. It was also very unstable and could collapse at any time. Let me teach you how to use this power. Suddenly, Meriwether Eagle felt the anti-domain energy ball collapse. At the same time, a wave of heat rushed toward him. Everything around him turned into a molten hell. The temperature almost melted everything. Even Meriwether Eagle couldn't bear it. He could only cover his entire body with the power of his counter-domain. But even so, he could still feel his skin burning. Monica and Taser Agler were both under Chen Zhao's protection. Meriwether Eagle wanted to take out Chen Zhao's inner world and materialize it. But he realized that he'd lost control of his body. "You're so weak. Why do you think you have the right to decide?" Meriwether Eagle's face paled. He could vaguely feel it. The surroundings were filled with counter-domains. They were larger, more stable, and more perfect than his counter-domains. In fact, the inner world needed to maintain a balance with the outer world. But Meriwether Eagle's inner world didn't belong to him at all. He was only borrowing this power. He didn't really have it. There was no outer world either. Even if he borrowed it, the amount of power he could borrow was very limited. How is it possible? Why? Why do you have Sacred Michael's power too? Why do you have the complete Sacred Michael's power? And it's complete too? Sacred Michael's power? Chen Zhao looked at Meriwether Eagle. You said this is Sacred Michael's power? I've never heard of the power of Sacred Michael. This is Sacred Michael's power. You can't lie to me. Foolish mortals, Monica suddenly said. But her tone seemed to have turned into someone else's. You don't understand at all, Monica said. You're facing a real god. Frowning, Chen Zhao looked at Monica. Who are you? Chen Zhao was very sure that it wasn't Monica who was speaking. You can call me Pioneer, or Sacred Michael, Monica said calmly. Monica said calmly, I really can't believe that my theory has been perfectly verified by you. Your theory? Yes. The heart domain, the heaven domain, and the stairs are combined to reach a whole new level, a power that surpasses God's. I failed, but I'm very happy to see someone succeed. I think you're wrong. I've never heard of your method, but I can roughly understand what you're saying. Maybe the details are different, but our paths are similar. How did you solve the problem of bearing? I failed at this stage. In the end, my body collapsed under the dual pressure of the heart domain and the heaven domain. Chen Zhao shrugged. I'm an enhancer. No, that's not right. I've calculated. Even enhancers can't bear the pressure of this power. Chapter 3130. Okay, you're already dead. You don't belong to this era. Those who deserve to die should go to the place where they deserve to die. Don't try to resurrect yourself, or I'll send you back to sleep. Chen Zhao flicked his fingers and a purple light shot out from Monica's forehead. Chen Zhao scooped through the air and the purple light landed in his palm. Monica also trembled slightly, and her body fell to the ground. What happened? I just lost consciousness. Monica wasn't sure what had happened to her just now. At this time, Tess Agler and Mariah Agler were both dumbfounded. They'd been frightened by Monica and Chen Zhao's conversation. No, more accurately, it was the conversation between Saint Michael and Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao was a being that was above Sacred Michael. And Chen Zhao had done what Saint Michael couldn't do. Mariah was even more panicked now. Because he was fighting Chen Zhao. His ultimate goal was to complete Saint Michael's unfinished path. In fact, everything he was doing now was arranged by Sacred Michael. Saint Michael had failed at the last step and died in the end. But according to Saint Michael's legacy, the last step could be completed. But now, it wasn't a question of whether it could be completed. Because Chen Zhao was an insurmountable mountain. Even if he'd obtained all of Saint Michael's power and succeeded in the end, at most, he'd be on par with Chen Zhao. But being on par was just a dream. At the end of the day, his power didn't belong to him. But Chen Zhao had his own power. So there was an insurmountable gap between the two. Not to mention the current Morizer Egler. Chen Zhao looked at Mercer Agler. The temperature around Merither Agler suddenly rose. Mariah felt more and more uncomfortable, or more accurately, in pain. If not for St. Michael's power protecting him, he would probably have turned to dust by now. But he knew very well that he didn't have the complete power of St. Michael. It wouldn't last long. Mr. Chen. Monica wanted to plead for her father. Chen Zhao glanced at Monica indifferently. Don't say anything. Your father has a reason to die. Even you don't have the right to plead for him. Wait. Tess Agel called out. What? Are you going to plead for him? Before that, please take out his heart. Of course, Tess Agel would not plead for his father. If possible, he was willing to do it himself. He had no feelings for Mariah Diegler. There was only hatred, an unforgettable hatred. Why? The power of Sacred Michael is attached to the heart. As long as the heart is removed, the power of Sacred Michael can be transferred. Chen Zhao stroked his chin in thought. Without the power of Sacred Gale, Monica will never be able to break through her current realm. I can exchange all my wealth with you. It'll be a piece of cake for you. How much money do you have? 2 billion USD, but not all of it is in cash. Most of it is in real estate. I don't want to. Monica said, Mr. Chen, please let my father go. Monica, he even wants to kill you. Your third brother was only 4 years old at the time. He killed him and stole his power. I. Monica's face paled. Father, is he telling the truth? Maurice Agler looked at Monica and suddenly reached into his chest. He directly dug out his own heart. Wah! Mariah spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he silently threw it to Monica. The black heart floated before Monica. It's yours, Mariah Agler said. The corners of Monica's mouth trembled slightly. Mariah seemed to have silently agreed with Taser's words. The black heart disintegrated in the air and the black energy seeped into Monica's body. Even without Monica's guidance or resistance. But the same origin would allow the power of Sacred Michael to choose its successor nearby. In the next moment, Maurice Agler revealed a smile. But this smile would become an eternal scar. The flames instantly burned Mariah, who had lost the protection of Sacred Michael's power, to ashes. Not a single piece was left, no. Monica cried out in grief and indignation. Chen Zhao retracted his inner world and glanced at Tace. I hope the reward won't be too long. Suddenly, Chen Zhao felt the ground shake. Huh? What happened? Right at this moment, a huge magical beast rushed out of the dense forest and charged towards them. Chen Zhao kicked the magical beast away. But the beast shook its head and stood up again, charging toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao released his aura, but the beast didn't know fear. Chen Zhao had no choice but to kill and destroy the magical beast physically. Has this magical beast gone mad? But the next moment, more beasts charged out. These magical beasts charged forward in a frenzy. Chen Zhao frowned and looked at Tace. You did this? Previously, Taser Agel and his brother Ramush Agel were able to control magical beasts. Therefore, Chen Zhao naturally associated this situation with Taser Agel. No, it has nothing to do with me. You really didn't do it? Chen Zhao was very doubtful. It really has nothing to do with me. Tace was a bit unhappy. If someone else doubted him like this, he would get angry. But he really couldn't beat Chen Zhao. So, he could only explain patiently. Chen Zhao flew into the air and was within his sensing range. It was filled with hundreds of crazy magical beasts. Outside his sensing range, there were even more crazy magical beasts. Chen Zhao landed on the ground. What happened 12 years ago? 12 years ago? You suspect that Ramont and I did what happened 12 years ago? No, it has nothing to do with us. When we heard about it, we even suspected that it was Morizer. So you don't know what exactly happened? We were hiding from Morizer and only contacted a few people in the Aegel family. We didn't get any information about the incident 12 years ago. Chen Zhao fell into deep thought. He'd thought that Morizer's death would be the end of this matter. But the reality was that this matter probably had nothing to do with Maurice Agler and his children. In other words, someone else had caused the magical beast rampage. Suddenly, the galaxy in the sky began to sway, as if a hand was fiddling with it. Energy balls kept falling from the sky. When they hit the ground, intense explosions occurred. Chapter 31-31. An energy ball landed near Qinzhao. The moment the energy ball exploded, it created a huge impact. The entire world seemed like it was going to be destroyed. Crazy magical beasts. They weren't just beasts from the ether world. The ether world was huge, but it couldn't sustain such a huge number of beasts. There were also countless magical beasts burrowing out of the ground. Actually, this wasn't the ground either. Perhaps the ether world was just a rest stop for the beasts. But now, they were going to destroy the rest stop. The galaxy above the ether world was also out of control. The galaxy was formed by energy balls and sulfur clouds. Each of those energy balls was as powerful as a superbomb. Such a huge number kept falling. It was enough to destroy the entire ether world. Of course, the first to be destroyed would probably be the contestants here. It was a mess, a complete mess. Just then, Chen Zhao's communicator rang. Chen Zhao, something happened. Thank you. Your information is very timely. Chen Zhao listened to Zhang Tianyi's voice in the communicator and agreed with the information. Kill all the beasts, Zhang Tianyi said. So kill all the beasts that appear before you. Are you kidding? Why don't you do it yourself? Chen Zhao was rather annoyed by Zhang Tianyi's orders. I can't do it. Even the 7 of us combined can't be as efficient as you. After all, you've destroyed a real world. This ether world is just a fake one. It shouldn't be difficult for you. Piss off, Chen Zhao cursed. How could it be the same? Back in the serpent god's world, he could attack without restraint. But here, could he use his ultimate move directly? I want to know the specifics. Who did it? Or, are you the mastermind? You're thinking too much. Why do you think I did it? Do I have to ruin my own plan? Who knows? Maybe you have nothing better to do. Chen Zhao wasn't sure if Zhang Tianyi was the mastermind. But he definitely knew the truth. I don't know the specifics either. I only know a little bit of information. Tell me. Do you know Saint Michael? I didn't before today. Where did you hear it from? The Egler family. Well. Zhang Tianyi did not ask in detail and continued, Saint Michael is the ancestor of the Aegel family, dating back to the era of the spiritual energy tide 400 years ago. Before anyone else discovered the 100 Ku Islands, he had already taken the 100 Ku Islands as his own. Then, in a few decades, his strength and cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. He was not interested in the spiritual world, only obsessed with pursuing higher realms. He was indifferent to the rise and fall of the younger generation of his family, so there was almost no legend of him in the spiritual world. There were only a few attacks, and this Tai Yen world is his greatest masterpiece. Are you saying that this ether world was created by Saint Michael? You can't say that he created it. He discovered this place, but there was no light here at the time. It was just a huge dark space until he arrived. He created the divine artifact, the glory of the stars, which is the countless energy balls you see above your head. Those countless energy balls were created by Sacred Michael? Chen Zhao was surprised. How did he do it? That's his secret, Zhang Tianyi said with a bitter smile. Who knows? So, the fall of the stars has something to do with the Aegel family? The glory of the stars was lost a long time ago, more than 100 years ago. I'm very sure that this has nothing to do with the Aegel family, at least not in this generation. The decline of the Eagle family also started with the loss of the glory of the stars. Then what's the meaning of your ambiguous attitude before? It was precisely because of Zhang Tiany's ambiguous attitude that Chen Zhao suspected that Zhang Tiany was the mastermind. Or perhaps it was related to the Eagle family. This is because the head of the Eagle family, Maurice Eagle, said that the culprit of the incident 12 years ago was the person who stole the glory of the stars. He wanted to use this reopening of the Tai Yen world to attract that group of people and take back the glory of the stars. So, Maurice Eagle knows about this? Yes, but he's never been willing to say who the culprit is. Could it be a self-directed act? I had my suspicions at first, but then I thought about it. Do you think the Eagle family needs to do this? They started preparing more than 100 years ago and risked the continuous decline of the Eagle family. Even if it's not a self-directed act, it's at least related. Looks like I have to talk to Maurice again. Air. I don't think that's necessary. Chen Zhao glanced at Monica and Taser Eagle beside him. Why? I just changed the head of the Eagle family to a new head. Sigma, Zhang Tiany was in a bad mood. Tell me clearly. I killed Maurice Eagle. Zhang Tiany had the urge to spit blood. After a moment of silence, Zhang Tiany said, "First, we have to eliminate the magical beasts here. But we have to block the source first," Chen Zhao said. Do you know where it's coming from? Air, do you know or not? Is it hard? They're visitors from another world. What? They don't come from underground? It's a world called the Beast Realm. I've been there once. It's filled with magical beasts. I think that the mastermind's goal is to completely open the connection between our world and the Beast Realm and expose the spiritual world to all humans. After a moment of silence, Chen Zhao said, "Is that why you're hesitating? This era is different from any previous spirit energy tides. In the past, the governments of various countries could easily cover up the spirit energy tides. However, this era is different. Any piece of information can be spread all over the world within a minute. Now, with the changes in the spirit energy tides, the spirit world will be completely exposed to all humans sooner or later. I think it's not a bad idea to take advantage of this opportunity. Instead of hiding it, it's better to be straightforward. Then you should know that if this incident goes out of control, it won't just be a matter of exposure, but an all-out war between the two worlds. This is only the beginning, and there are already so many demonic beasts pouring out from the other world. If this continues, once these demonic beasts reach the human cities, the humans will be completely defeated." Chapter 31-32. Chen Zhao's and Zhang Tiany's ideals were clearly very different. Chen Zhao was very satisfied with his current life, environment, and even the state of the world. Chen Zhao didn't want to change. Change meant trouble. Chen Zhao hated trouble. He could already feel that there were more and more magical beasts. They were getting denser and denser. Chen Zhao glanced at Tess Agler and Monica. If he told them to go alone now, they would probably die. However, Chen Zhao wasn't going back now. Instead, he was going to advance to an even denser area. "You, Tess, right? Take care of your sister," Chen Zhao said. Chen Zhao looked at the groups of magical beasts. In an instant, more small black balls formed in the surroundings. Whoosh, 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 the black balls danced and shot forward. In just 1 second, hundreds of magical beasts were cleared out. The densely packed magical beasts just a moment ago were all gone in the blink of an eye. Tess Agler and Monica were dumbfounded by what they saw. Only now did they feel true terror. The kind of power that was above everything else. Even though Taser Agler had fought Chen Zhao before, Taser Agler was not a match for him. But the feeling was different. When fighting him, Chen Zhao only needed to use enough power to defeat him. But the current situation was different. No matter how much power Chen Zhao used, it wouldn't be too much. But Chen Zhao had just cleared out a few square kilometers of magical beasts. In the blink of an eye, it was covered by magical beasts again. The black balls around Qinzhao shot out again. This time, the range was larger and more magical beasts were killed. At this moment, a contestant covered in cuts and bruises ran in their direction. Help! Help! Behind the contestant was a group of terrifying magical beasts. A group of god-level magical beasts. It was fortunate that the contestant was able to escape. If it were any other contestant, they would have died 100 times. A black ball shot toward the contestant. The contestant hugged his head in fear. But when the black ball was about to reach the contestant, it suddenly turned. The black ball flew in an arc. When it hit the first magical beast, its body suddenly shrank. All its flesh and blood were devoured and compressed by the black ball. The black ball didn't slow down at all. It went straight for the second magical beast, the third magical beast. After flying out of the visible range, the black ball turned again. This time, it flew in the widest arc possible. With Qinzhao as the center, the black ball flew in a circle. Moreover, the speed of the little black ball was extremely fast. No matter what kind of magical beast it was, as long as it came into contact with the little black ball, its flesh and blood would be instantly compressed. It was unstoppable. This was like a superstorm. The storm wind wall was the most powerful, and both the inside and outside of the wind wall were safe zones. The contestant stared at Qinzhao in terror. After a while, he said, Thank you. Go forward, Qinzhao said. Go forward? Are you crazy? Do you know what's going on? There are even more magical beasts up ahead. Qinzhao glanced at the contestant. You can leave. How do I leave now? I'll die alone. Tace glanced at the contestant and cursed under his breath, idiot. Qinzhao didn't care what the contestants were thinking. He turned around and walked deeper. Tess Agler and Monica hurried to catch up. The contestants hesitated for a while, but in the end, they could only follow. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the aura became. There seemed to be something even more terrifying up ahead. The contestants' jaws had already dropped from Qinzhao's slaughter along the way. No matter what kind of terrifying magical beast it was, they couldn't stop Qinzhao. They couldn't even stop him for a second. They couldn't even stop him for a second. The magical beasts that stopped them were also getting stronger and stronger. Suddenly, a few figures appeared in front of them. Qinzhao reached out and pulled. They were pulled in front of him. They were the people who'd helped Qinzhao gather information. Mr. Qin, it's you? Everyone was surprised and happy. They didn't expect to see Qinzhao again. And he'd saved them. Did you come to save me? Qinzhao glanced at the familiar people before him. It was good to smile now. Fine. Everyone smiled bitterly. Follow me. Facing such a huge number of magical beasts and the people around him who needed protection, even Qinzhao couldn't go too fast. A dark red neutron star formed in Qinzhao's hand. Whoosh, the dark red neutron star was too powerful. Even Qinzhao had to throw it far away. Otherwise, the people he was protecting would be the first casualties. Plus, he couldn't just throw them around, because no one knew where the contestants were hiding. Qinzhao had to throw it within his sensing range. The dark red neutron star's killing range also had to be within his sensing range. A red circle of light exploded in the distance. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This power was too terrifying. Once it was released, it would probably destroy an entire island. The magical beasts didn't appear in front of everyone for a long time. When everyone arrived at the site of the explosion of the dark red neutron star, all he saw was a terrifying crater. Here, Qinzhao threw out another dark red neutron star. The red circle of light exploded again in the distance. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. Just then, the energy balls in the sky rained down on Qinzhao. Are you going to stop me now? As soon as the energy balls touched the periphery of Qinzhao's small world, they were crushed. The energy balls were powerful, but they were meaningless if they couldn't hit Chen Zhao. However, he still had to hurry to the passageway leading to this world from the other world as soon as possible. Otherwise, no one knew what would happen. Chen Zhao looked back at everyone. I have to hurry. If you don't want to die, cast a shield spell first. They didn't understand why he had to cast a shield spell to hurry. Shouldn't he cast a speed spell to hurry? Only Monica, who'd accepted Chen Zhao's plane ticket, knew what he meant. Nevertheless, they still listened to Chen Zhao's suggestion and cast a defensive spell. Bang! Suddenly, they felt immense pressure. It was like their faces had smashed into an invisible wall of air. Everyone's expression twisted and flattened. No one could maintain their elegance at a time like this. A few seconds later, Chen Zhao stopped. It had only been a few seconds, but everyone felt as if a century had passed. They realized that they didn't know where they were anymore. Looking down, they saw countless powerful magical beasts below them. Each magical beast possessed a suffocating deterrent force. Everyone clutched their chests. It was so uncomfortable that they wanted to faint right now. In the center of the magical beasts, a door of light stood. Before anyone could stop him, Chen Zhao had already dragged them to the ground. They landed in the middle of the magical beasts. Chapter 31-33. The truly terrifying thing was on the other side of the door. On the other side of the light gate, there were several extremely terrifying auras rushing over. They sensed Chen Zhao's appearance. The owner of each aura was as powerful as the Dragon King, or even more powerful than him. A beam of purple light shot out from the door. The purple light contained destructive power. When everyone saw the purple light, they could only feel a sense of awe. Chen Zhao reached out to block the purple light. He saw that his palm was falling apart. Chen Zhao frowned. His non-elemental body couldn't resist this power either. The small world could only wear away some of the purple light's destructive power. Chen Zhao immediately absorbed the purple light into his inner world and healed his damaged palm. But the purple light didn't stop. It still shot out from the other side. The purple light bombarded Chen Zhao's palm. The sparks that burst out produced a terrifying corrosive effect. The purple light grew stronger and stronger. It wasn't just the attacker increasing its power. It was also because the attacker was coming out. A strange dragon covered in bone spikes crawled out of the door. When its claws touched the ground, it felt like it was going to die. The surrounding ground was first burned by a layer of flames. Then, a layer of purple light swept past. The ground was corroded until it was full of holes. At the same time, its aura was filled with despair and terror. It was a huge source of terror. But it wasn't the first. After the door, a second one crawled out. The second magical beast was humanoid. It was covered in scales and its limbs were extremely thick. Its fists were burning with flames. It was equally terrifying, covered in coldness, and had the same despairing aura. Everyone looked at Chen Zhao. Could Chen Zhao really deal with such a terrifying existence? Chen Zhao didn't hold back. Primordial Regression Technique, Level 5. Roar, roar, the two terrifying magical beasts let out deafening roars at the same time. They also seemed to be facing a great enemy. Their bodies emitted an all-out pressure. Everyone's level was too different. They couldn't tell who was stronger. To them, 101,000 were no different. But they saw Chen Zhao's even more terrifying expression. Chen Zhao licked his lips. I'm going to tear you apart. The two magical beasts charged at Chen Zhao at the same time. They could feel an even stronger murderous aura from Chen Zhao. Bang, Chen Zhao disappeared. The next moment, the strange dragon's abdomen was hit by something. Its huge body soared into the sky. Roar, the humanoid magical beast roared and punched at Chen Zhao with a flaming fist. Bang, with another loud bang, the humanoid demonic beast's giant fist shattered. In the next moment, the humanoid demonic beast also lost control and soared into the sky. Everyone's jaws dropped as they stared at the scene in front of them in a daze. They couldn't even see Chen Zhao. They could only vaguely see the tracks he left behind. His lightning-like speed and peerless strength transformed into a power that could destroy heaven and earth. The two magical beasts in midair once again suffered a heavy blow. The two magical beasts collided. Crackling sounds came from the bodies of the two magical beasts. They were completely reduced to sandbags. He couldn't land either. Chen Zhao whipped him in the air. It lasted for a minute. Chen Zhao finally appeared and looked at the two falling magical beasts. Fist shadow. In another instant, Chen Zhao punched out countless afterimages. It felt like he was slapping rotten meat. The two magical beasts were deformed by Chen Zhao. If they were normal creatures, they would have died from this degree of distortion. But the two magical beasts' vitality was unbelievably tenacious. Chen Zhao punched one last time. The two magical beasts rose into the air again. Everyone's pupils constricted. They saw a dark red neutron star brewing in Chen Zhao's palm again. When the dark red neutron star flew to the middle of the two magical beasts, their bodies were absorbed by the dark red neutron star's mass. Their flesh and blood rapidly disintegrated. But the process wasn't complete. The dark red neutron star shot out a red and white light. All the magical beasts in the surroundings disappeared in an instant. At the same time, the two terrifying strange dragons and humanoid magical beasts also disappeared. Their flesh and blood had all evaporated. Everyone was speechless. In their eyes, the two magical beasts were already at the peak. Before Chen Zhao, they couldn't even fight back. Chen Zhao looked at the door of light and suddenly did something strange. It was like a tug of war. Everyone looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. The next moment, another magical beast came out of the door. However, that magical beast seemed to be very unwilling as it desperately tried to drill into the light door. Unfortunately, it couldn't do it. Everyone stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. Chen Zhao had pulled it out. He destroyed two such terrifying magical beasts. But it still couldn't satisfy him. This magical beast was also powerful. But now, no one felt that it was terrifying. Instead, they felt pity, that's right. As the weakest here, they actually felt pity for the magical beasts. They actually sympathized with the magical beasts. As soon as the magical beast came out, the dark lava covered it. Everyone could see the magical beast struggling madly in the dark lava. Chen Zhao didn't seem to be prepared to attack. He just let the magical beast struggle in the dark lava. Chen Zhao was still pulling on it. Another magical beast was pulled out. Chen Zhao wasn't interested in this magical beast, so he used another combo to take it away. Just then, the magical beast covered in dark lava finally stopped struggling. The dark lava seeped into its body, crazily devouring and robbing its power. When the dark magma retreated, only a skinny body was left. It was still huge, but everyone could tell that it wasn't far from death. Chen Zhao continued pulling. The fifth magical beast was pulled out. The contestants who'd been saved before already knew that Chen Zhao was strong, very strong. But their understanding of Chen Zhao was limited to very strong. As for how strong exactly, it was just a vague concept. No one could say for sure. But now, everyone only felt that Chen Zhao's strength wasn't a vague concept. It was a clear, terrifyingly strong one. After the fifth magical beast was pulled out, the door immediately started shrinking. Chen Zhao didn't care about the fifth magical beast he'd pulled out. Instead, he rushed to the door and reached out to pull the edge. Everyone was speechless again. It was clearly a spatial door. But Chen Zhao actually used his hands to stop the door from shrinking. Was there something wrong with his brain, or did he really think it was possible? The result was really unexpected. The space door really stopped shrinking. Large numbers of low-level magical beasts surged out of the door again. Of course, this low-level referred to magical beasts below the divine level. The magical beasts on the other side of the door seemed to think that this could distract Chen Zhao. This would give them a chance to close the door. But Chen Zhao would give them a chance. Thousands of small black balls formed. Then they started spinning like a storm. For the low-level magical beasts, this was like a meat grinder, continuously mincing them. No matter how many magical beasts surged out, they were just more seasoning for Chen Zhao's neutron star storm. Chapter 31-34. Chen Zhao opened the spatial door to its fullest. In the eyes of others, it would be too late to close the door. But Chen Zhao did the exact opposite. Not only did he not close the door, he even opened it wider. He pushed the portal to its maximum, which was 200 meters in diameter. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. There were countless magical beast leaves on the other side of the door. They were all lined up neatly too. Just like an army, different magical beasts were in different formations. There were also a few huge beasts with terrifying auras. They were like generals on the battlefield. Everyone's gaze fell on Chen Zhao again. Instantly, everyone felt like their scalps were going to explode. Right now, a basketball-sized dark red neutron star was brewing in Chen Zhao's palms. Previously, Chen Zhao had only thrown out a dark red neutron star the size of a thumb. Even so, a single one could leave a 1,000-meter crater and have an effective killing range of at least 100 square kilometers. Now, how powerful was this basketball-sized dark red neutron star? No one dared to imagine. They only felt that Chen Zhao was too dangerous. Then they saw Chen Zhao push the dark red neutron star to the other side of the spatial door. Everyone saw a shocking scene. After the dark red neutron star flew past the light door, the magical beast generals went up to stop its trajectory. However, even those terrifying demonic beasts were compressed by the dark red neutron star when they came into contact with it. The dark red neutron star's mass already determined that even if it didn't explode, its single target damage was almost limitless. Then the dark red neutron star landed in the center of the magical beast army. Everyone was in disbelief. After the dark red neutron star landed, it didn't explode directly. Instead, it produced a terrifying suction force. Tens of thousands of magical beasts were pulled into meat strips by the dark red neutron star. If it were a normal neutron star, the neutron star's strong gravity would constantly attract other celestial bodies and matter. However, with the pulsed ray burst, it would also release matter and energy at an even faster rate. Therefore, the time that neutron stars existed was much shorter than other celestial bodies. The dark red neutron star Chen Zhao had created followed the same pattern. Although the mass of the dark red neutron star had reached a very ridiculous level, the matter was still 1,000,000,000,000 times worse than a real celestial body, so the time it could exist was even shorter. Just like the end of a neutron star's life, when the neutron star could no longer compress matter with its powerful gravity, matter and energy would be released in a terrifying manner. It lasted for about a few seconds. Then, time seemed to freeze in that instant. A red halo burst forth. Everything in its path, be it the mountains, the rivers, the magical beasts, or even the air, was annihilated. It was Chen Zhao's first time fighting since he became an ascendance level. It was different from the world of the feathered serpent god. At that time, Chen Zhao had yet to reach the ascendance level. Even when he was in Asgard, he hadn't truly gone all out. In Asgard, Chen Zhao faced a declining Asgard, a group of gods who had lost their physical bodies and relied on Asgard to survive. But it was different now. It was a truly complete world, and it was incomparably powerful. And from all the signs, this riot was definitely not a one-sided affair. Someone on this side was colluding with the other world. Otherwise, how could such a large magical beast army have gathered there so coincidentally? Moreover, the spatial door had opened right in front of the magical beast army. No matter how many magical beasts there were in that world, it was impossible for millions of them to gather in one area. This was a problem of the ecosystem. A forest's food couldn't support so many people with big stomachs. So, Chen Zhao didn't have much to worry about when he attacked. When the crowd witnessed the annihilation of the magical beast army of several million, they couldn't use words to express their shock. Are you staying here or coming with me? Or do you want to come with me? Chen Zhao turned to look at the others. Going over? For what? Even Tess Agil didn't understand now. I don't like to keep enemies alive, Chen Zhao said calmly. Those magical beasts. Didn't you destroy them all? Do you think I'm the only ones in the other world? Chen Zhao asked. Are you going to destroy all the magical beasts in the other world? It's hard to destroy all of them, but maybe I can destroy that world, Chen Zhao said calmly. All the signs showed that the magical beasts in that world were extremely intelligent. After all, they already knew how to play tricks. Leaving them alive would only be a disaster. Chen Zhao was here this time, so he stopped them. But what if they opened a spatial door in a no-man's land again? Then, hundreds of thousands, millions, or even tens of millions of magical beasts would flood into Earth. It wouldn't wipe out all of humanity, but it would bring Chen Zhao a lot of trouble. If they hid in their own world obediently, Chen Zhao wouldn't do anything. But since they'd reached their hands out, Chen Zhao wasn't going to let it go. Plus, he could feel the world's intent. Back then, Chen Zhao had been rewarded by the world's intent for destroying Quetzalcoatl's world. This time, Chen Zhao was the same. He hadn't planned on letting it go. Now that he had the world's intense approval, Chen Zhao wanted to settle this once and for all. Everyone looked at each other. There were still many magical beasts in the ether world. It was too dangerous to stay here, but it seemed even more dangerous to go there. Plus, Chen Zhao had just said that he could destroy the world. Everyone gulped. They stared at Chen Zhao in shock. He couldn't be serious, right? If they could actually witness a world-destroying action with their own eyes, it seemed to be a very good experience. I'll go with you, Tess Agil said. I don't want to face those magical beasts alone. He still hadn't recovered from his battle with Morither Agil. In fact, it had only been 2 hours since his battle with Morither Agil. He wasn't a true Shangqing realm cultivator, so his recovery speed was far slower. As for Monica, she'd obtained Sacred Michael's power, but she hadn't completely merged with it. She was also very unfamiliar with this power, so she didn't have much combat power. The other contestants were strong, but they were also helpless against the tidal wave of magical beasts. So, everyone decided to follow Chen Zhao to the spatial door. After all, they couldn't decide Chen Zhao's actions, so they could only decide their own actions. Chapter 31-35. They followed Chen Zhao to the other side of the portal. It was a vast plain. There was a terrifying crater in the distance. It was the center of the explosion left by Chen Zhao's dark red neutron star. The dark red neutron star had a destructive radius of hundreds of kilometers. Almost all living things within this radius were annihilated. But they could still see traces of magical beasts in the distance. Even under that kind of terrifying lethality, there was no way he would be able to escape. There were still magical beasts that didn't die. Chen Zhao didn't care about the struggling magical beasts. He raised his arms and the ground started shaking. Immediately, everyone realized that the ground was cracking. No, it wasn't cracking. The ground they were standing on was rising into the air. The ground within a dozen kilometers was rising. At this moment, everyone was standing on this huge rock that was raised high. They vaguely realized what Chen Zhao wanted to do. What would happen if a rock with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers smashed into the ground from the sky? If he wanted to completely destroy the world, he would need to make the meteorite go over 200,000 kilometers per hour, which was around 60 kilometers per second. It was very difficult to make such a huge object reach that speed. But if he wanted to completely annihilate all life on the surface, he only needed to reach 10,000 kilometers per hour. As long as he could pull the rock high enough, the acceleration of gravity would be enough to achieve this. Plus, Chen Zhao had to completely destroy the world. He wanted to be like the world of Serpent God. He wanted to take the world's consciousness for himself. When the rock reached a height where they could see the entire world clearly, it finally stopped. Everyone didn't feel it was difficult to breathe. Chen Zhao had long used his small world to reserve air. This was the air he'd reserved before they entered this world. If Chen Zhao came in alone, he wouldn't need to prepare this at all. But there were also these little guys. So, Chen Zhao had to make some preparations. Chen Zhao felt that it was about the right height. He pushed the rock heavily. The huge rock crashed down with a whoosh. A few seconds later, it turned into a huge fireball. At the same time, a huge tail of smoke swept across the sky. At the end of the horizon, a sun rose. Even from 10,000 kilometers away, everyone could still see the dazzling light. Okay, we should go back. Chen Zhao wasn't unfamiliar with this scene. After all, it was a disaster that he'd personally created. Chen Zhao brought everyone back to the ether world who still hadn't had enough. No one had expected it to be so fast. Originally, they thought that this would be a time-consuming task. But Chen Zhao only used 10 minutes. When Chen Zhao returned to the Tai Yen world, he immediately closed the spatial door. At this moment, Zhang Tianyi descended from the sky. Chen Zhao, you closed the portal? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Zhang Tianyi felt a headache coming on. Did you go there? No, I'm tired. I'll leave these people to you. Chen Zhao, you must have been there. You can't let go of that world. Give me the coordinates. You can't keep it to yourself. At the moment, Zhang Tianyi's level had reached its peak. He was only one step away from ascendance level. However, he did not have the chance to devour the wills of other worlds. He did not receive any reward from the world will. In this incident, Zhang Tianyi had made it sound so righteous. How could he not want to take the opportunity to break through to ascendance level? However, he couldn't do what Chen Zhao did. In the end, they still needed to borrow Chen Zhao's power. Chen Zhao glanced at Zhang Tianyi and stopped talking. Everyone was confused. Keep it to himself? They couldn't understand Zhang Tianyi's intentions at all. Clearly, Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi's topic was too complicated. It was completely beyond their understanding. Chen Zhao definitely didn't just destroy the world. But Chen Zhao didn't seem to have done anything else in those 10 minutes, right? Seeing that Chen Zhao was silent, Zhang Tianyi could only ask the others, did he go there just now? The others were embarrassed. They didn't want to offend Zhang Tianyi. But the problem was, they didn't dare to offend Chen Zhao either. If Zhang Tianyi asked them privately, they would definitely tell him everything they knew. But now, they were asking in front of Chen Zhao. They wouldn't dare to say anything. Chen Zhao had just destroyed a world. They were very sure that they couldn't take a beating from that world. They were also certain that if Chen Zhao was determined to kill them, no one in their organization or family would be able to protect them. Zhang Tianyi obviously knew their situation. What he wanted wasn't their answer. He didn't need them to answer either. If Chen Zhao really didn't go there, they could tell him directly. Since they were hesitant, it meant that Chen Zhao had gone. Plus, Zhang Tianyi knew that Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't let go of such a big piece of meat. Chen Zhao, it's not a good habit to take everything for yourself. Chen Zhao looked at Zhang Tianyi. I don't like being used. This time. I was wrong, what else? What conditions? Tell me. You work for me for free for the Olympians. I'll take your share. Don't even think about it. Goodbye. Wait. Don't go. Zhang Tianyi looked bitter. You can't do this. You're too greedy. I'll give you half of my share. No, all of it. Half. Only half at most. Go find another world. Oh, remember to cripple that world's consciousness first. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao with tears in his eyes. If he could cripple it, he wouldn't need to use Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's strongest combat power wasn't a joke. Not to mention that Chen Zhao had already reached ascension. Even when they were at the same level, Chen Zhao was dozens of times stronger than him in terms of combat power. Chen Zhao could use that doomsday strike. But Zhang Tianyi didn't have that ability. He'd thought that he could use Chen Zhao to save a lot of money. But when he rushed over, Chen Zhao had already taken care of it. Do you believe that I won't join your operation? If you don't want to, then don't. Will I definitely fail without you? Zhang Tianyi's expression became even worse. I was just saying. Let's both take a step back, Zhang Tianyi said, gritting his teeth. I'll give you 70%. Don't push your luck. Chen Zhao shook his head. I said that I want all of it. You're too much. Am I being too much or are you? I even suspect that you're the one who opened the door to this world. You're slandering me. Anyway, it doesn't affect me whether you accept or reject the deal. If you don't accept it, I can't bear to take it out. I can keep it for myself. Chapter 31-36. Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi were both greedy. Zhang Tianyi didn't want Chen Zhao to ask for such an exorbitant price. Chen Zhao would rather leave this new world occupied by magical beasts there. The world will of the serpent god's world was enough for him to devour for a few hundred years. There was no need for him to get a second one. It wasn't that he didn't need it, it was just that the cycle was too long. It was basically useless in the short term. But he had given it to Zhang Tianyi just like that. Chen Zhao knew that he wasn't that generous. What's more, Zhang Tianyi used him this time. Thinking of this, Chen Zhao was furious. Zhang Tianyi was allowed to make use of him. Wouldn't he be able to blackmail him? Chen Zhao didn't believe that Zhang Tianyi and his Dragon Tiger Mountain Celestial Masters sect couldn't find another suitable world. But that also depended on whether it was suitable or not. There was also the issue of combat power. It wanted to devour the world wills of other worlds. First, he had to cripple them. But would the world will be so easily destroyed? Even Chen Zhao had to use his ultimate move. As for the others, there was no need to mention the lethality of a meteor. Even the dark red neutron star couldn't do it. In their team, apart from Chen Zhao, Bifla was the most lethal. But even Bifla couldn't create this level of damage. No matter what Zhang Tianyi said, Chen Zhao wouldn't agree. If you don't want it, I'll go to Bivera. Although he doesn't need it now, he will definitely need it in the future. I don't have to worry about not being able to sell it. Wait. Motherfucker. Zhang Tianyi cursed with a black face. In the end, he still accepted Chen Zhao's black-hearted price. Clean up this place. Zhang Tianyi said unhappily. Chen Zhao glanced at the galaxy in the sky. At this moment, Xinghe had already stopped his bombardment. It was as if nothing had happened, full of tranquility and beauty. You said that you haven't found the artifact that can control the galaxy in the sky? We haven't found the person, so of course we haven't found the item either. That thing's pretty powerful, Chen Zhao said meaningfully. If he could completely control that divine artifact, perhaps its destructive power would not be inferior to his dark red neutron star. Unfortunately, there's a flaw. What flaws? I can only unleash its full power here. That's useless. Chen Zhao immediately lost interest. If he could use it freely, it would be like obtaining an additional skill. However, it could only be used here, so the value of this divine artifact would be greatly reduced. Chen Zhao glanced at Zhang Tianyi. Was your original goal to steal the divine artifact from the mastermind and conquer the world of Warcraft? Zhang Tianyi stopped talking. Chen Zhao vaguely remembered that Zhang Tianyi had asked him to be a backup a few times. Did you guess that there was something wrong with that divine artifact, but you weren't very sure? Zhang Tianyi still said nothing. Chen Zhao was even more dissatisfied. Fuck, Chen Zhao cursed. Chen Zhao almost wanted to kill Zhang Tianyi. In the end, the second match was forced to stop due to an accident in the Taito world. Those who weren't eliminated and didn't die before the end all advanced to the next round. This was supposed to be a good thing, but this incident resulted in more than 200 casualties. More than 300 people were seriously injured. This was already an extremely serious matter. However, the competition continued and did not stop because of this incident. There were also those who had been manually eliminated by the judges. The number of people who advanced was around 400. Although it was still a distance from the expected 256 spots. Chen Zhao could not care so much right now. The third match was an elimination match, but it wasn't a one-on-one match. Instead, it was a four-person battle royale. This time, 100 people would be chosen directly from the 400 participants. A 25% chance of elimination. That's pretty much the situation this time. What do you think? Chen Zhao looked at Aluntarai and Manit. Both of them were deep in thought. To be honest, even though these words came from Chen Zhao, they still found it unbelievable. Destroying the world. Was there really someone who could do this all by himself? But suspicion was just suspicion. With their intelligence, it wasn't hard for them to tell the truth. Chen Zhao didn't have to lie to them. They just felt that it was a pity that they couldn't see the apocalypse with their own eyes. Even spiritualists probably hadn't seen the apocalypse. Aluntarai was the first to speak. President, the question now is whether or not Zhang Tianyi is the mastermind behind this incident, right? Sort of. Chen Zhao nodded. I feel that the old man is really evil. Maybe he did it. I think Zhang Tianyi might know something, or at least part of it, Aluntarai said. He might also be using you, but I don't agree that he's the mastermind. From your conversation with Zhang Tianyi, you can see that Zhang Tianyi also has many information blind spots. For example, he doesn't understand that divine artifact, so he needs you to help him. Because the information isn't complete, Zhang Tianyi is worried that things will go out of control. If all the information is transparent and controllable, Zhang Tianyi won't need you to help him. He can analyze the feasibility or success rate himself. Then why can't he be an accomplice? President, first of all, Zhang Tianyi is a human. There's no doubt about that. What good does betraying humans do for him? But you can't say that he's completely impossible. No, every action needs a motive. This is logic. A madman must have the crazy logic of a madman to kill someone. Zhang Tianyi is not a madman, and even if he is a madman, he doesn't need to destroy human society to prove his madness. Then how do you explain how he knows so much? Maybe the mastermind told him. The mastermind told him? Why? To make things more difficult for himself? Maybe it's to get Zhang Tianyi to join them, Manit said. Manit said, that's very possible. Zhang Tianyi's idea is to publicize the supernatural world. The mastermind might be using this to cooperate with Celestial Master Zhang. And the mastermind doesn't know that Zhang Tianyi actually has his own plans. On one hand, he wants to use the mastermind to expose the spiritual world, but on the other hand, he has his own plans. He wants to steal the divine artifact from the mastermind and that world. He's using the president as a backup. That old guy is really bad. Chen Zhao twitched his lips. In terms of scheming, he really couldn't beat Zhang Tianyi. If not for Aluntarai and Manit, Chen Zhao really wouldn't have thought so deeply. Whatever. No matter what, this is over. Chen Zhao shrugged. I don't know when the Eidolon world will be opened again. Chapter 31-37. There wasn't much to say about the third match. 4 people fought, and 1 person advanced. This match was only a competition of strength and combat ability. Actually, this was an extra match, so the schedule was tight. Chen Zhao walked into the arena listlessly. The arena was a huge alternate dimension. It was large, but it wasn't a complete alternate dimension. There was almost nothing there. A majestic arena stood in the center of the space. Chen Zhao didn't know where in the main world it came from. Around the Colosseum were the 100 contestants he was responsible for. Chen Zhao picked up the list. Now, the first match begins. Andro, Labijan, Mitsuji, Paul Vidal, enter. The 4 contestants jumped into the arena from the audience seats. The rule is that you can't attack private parts. When I decide that someone is eliminated, that person will be eliminated. You can choose not to accept it, or I can throw you out. Then, the match begins. The 4 contestants didn't know Chen Zhao and were very disdainful of his words. It was mainly because Chen Zhao wasn't old enough and he wasn't famous at all. Therefore, they didn't think much of him. Even though Chen Zhao was the judge, they still thought that he'd gotten the position through connections. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't care what they thought. The 4 looked at each other. No one attacked first. Suddenly, Andro took the initiative to act. His target was none other than the Japanese, Mitsuji. Andro was very fast. He punched at Mitsuji. Mitsuji's figure flashed. He was also very fast, dodging Andro's attack in the blink of an eye. At the same time, he unsheathed his sword. Whoosh, a streak of sword energy whizzed past. Andro also dodged with speed. With a whoosh, the sword energy slashed the wall. Hiss, the wall was cut open, as well as the audience seats behind it. The power of this slash was quite astonishing. Andro looked back at the wall and the audience seats that had been cut open. He was a bit surprised, but also a bit scared. If that attack had landed on him, he'd probably have been decapitated. Andro glared at Mitsuji in anger. Shockwave. Andro punched through the air. A streak of white light shot out from his fist. Mitsui Dara immediately dodged, and the white light blasted the wall behind him. The wall immediately collapsed, and the impact also affected the audience seats behind him. It was no less powerful than Mitsui Dara's previous attack. Even Chen Zhao was surprised. Was the first contestant so strong? The battle between Andro and Mitsui Dara was in full swing. The battle between Labijan and Paul Vidal had also begun. Labijan was an elemental witch, while Paul Vidal was a shaman. The battle between the two was also quite shocking. Both sides were experts in the use and manipulation of the elements. All sorts of elements bombarded the opponent. However, elemental magic was considered a large area of effect attack. Moreover, they were all high-level spells. Therefore, it was inevitable that he would be affected by them. Andro and Mitsui Dara were originally in full swing. In the end, Andro was hit by a shadow lightning arc from behind. Mitsui Dara seized the opportunity and slashed at him. Chen Zhao quickly appeared before Mitsui Dara and Andro. With a tap of his finger, Mitsui Dara's blade was blocked. You. Mitsui Dara stared at Chen Zhao in shock and anger. Ignoring Mitsui Dara, Chen Zhao glanced at Andro. You're eliminated. Get out of my way. I haven't lost yet. Andro was furious. His injuries affected him a little, but he felt that he still had his combat power. Moreover, he was very unwilling to lose this battle. I'll say it again. You're eliminated. Andro swung his fist at Chen Zhao without a care. But his fist didn't even touch Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's fist landed on Andro's face first. Bang! Andro's head smashed into the ground. The entire ground of the arena cracked and shattered. Do you have any objections? Seems like you don't. Chen Zhao grabbed the unconscious Andro and smashed him into the audience seats in the distance. You 3 continue. The 3 were somewhat surprised by this small interlude. However, the 3 of them quickly regained their composure and returned to the match. In the end, the match ended with Mitsuji's final victory. Of course, Mitsui Dara had won partly because he was strong. In Qin Zhao's opinion, Mitsui Dara had won because he was stronger than the other three. It was true that the strongest person might not be able to break through in a four-person battle. However, the strongest person had the highest chance of advancing. The second four-person battle began. Qin Zhao read out the names of the four contestants. One of them, Walter, had just entered the arena. He immediately jogged over to Qin Zhao. "Mr. Chen, hello." Qin Zhao remembered Walter. He was a contestant he'd saved in the second round. He was also one of the contestants in the first round. Regardless of whether it was the first or the second round, Walter had a good understanding of Qin Zhao's strength. Whatever Qin Zhao said was the rule. He couldn't go against any of Qin Zhao's orders. For example, the idiot Andro just now. He'd already proved how much Qin Zhao couldn't be provoked. "Okay, the battle is starting. Let's talk after the battle. Mr. Chen, I'll win. Please watch carefully." Actually, after Walter's encounter in the Eidolon world and witnessing Qin Zhao's doomsday attack, he actually had an epiphany and had a breakthrough. His strength improved by leaps and bounds. Walter won the second round with an overwhelming advantage. "Congratulations, Walter. You won." Walter looked at Qin Zhao excitedly. Qin Zhao nodded and waved his hand. "Go down. Don't affect the later rounds." Walter hurried back to the audience seats. Many of the contestants in the following rounds knew Qin Zhao. After all, the first round was on Island 98. Many people had stayed. Now, they'd met Qin Zhao again. They all knew Qin Zhao's strength. Anyone who'd been to Island 98 knew how terrifying Qin Zhao's strength was. Thus, almost no one dared to be rude before Qin Zhao. On the other hand, many of the contestants who didn't know Qin Zhao were filled with disdain and hostility. As for the contestants who didn't care about Qin Zhao, they were all eliminated without exception. Qin Zhao had always said that he was fair and just. However, Qin Zhao's understanding of fair and just was cheating when others didn't know. As long as no one noticed Qin Zhao's tricks, no one could criticize Qin Zhao. There were a few people present who had their doubts. But they all knew Qin Zhao. They'd all entered that world with Qin Zhao in the second round. They'd all seen Qin Zhao's doomsday attack, so they just smiled and didn't say anything. Chapter 31-38. 100 contestants, 4-man battle royale. This meant that Qin Zhao had to be in charge of 25 matches. The shortest match only lasted 3 minutes. However, the longest match they had ever played was a full 7 hours. Even Qin Zhao found it boring. But this was a competition. With no time limit, there was a high chance that something like this would happen. After the 25 matches, it was already the 4th day. Even Qin Zhao felt tired. Of course, the tiredness was mental. It was a rather painful process. Some matches were fine. They were exciting and didn't last long. But others weren't so enjoyable. There were no techniques at all. They just fought each other. They were evenly matched. Then, they just stood there and kept releasing magic power to see who ran out of magic power first. These matches were not entertaining at all. There was no technique at all. But the contestants couldn't be blamed. After all, they weren't here to show off their skills. There wasn't a rule that said the matches had to be entertaining. Qin Zhao wasn't the worst off. Zhang Tianyi was the worst off. The matches he was in charge of lasted for 6 days. There were 3 or 4 matches almost every day. One could imagine what he had been through. To Qin Zhao's relief, Helis and Eng Elite both made it into the top 100. Is the 4th match still a single match? Qin Zhao sat on the chair and leaned back lazily. If it was still a single match like the 3rd match, Qin Zhao felt that he would be depressed. No, the 4th match is survival, Zhang Tianyi said. What do you mean? Qin Zhao asked, confused. There are 4 extreme environments. The first one is the extremely cold environment. There's a mysterious ice cave under Island 98 where the temperature is -100 degrees all year round. The cold air there can even cause frostbite to the soul. The second one is Island 35. The average temperature of the Abyss volcano there is more than 100 degrees. The third one is the deep reef sea area of Island 21. The deepest sea area there can even reach 15,000 meters. The fourth one is the sky. It's a test of who can fly the highest. Zhang Tianyi paused and continued, for these 4 extreme environment tests, the contestants can choose any one of them. The cold and hot environments are a competition of endurance, to see who can last the longest in the extreme environment. The deep sea test is to see who can dive the deepest. The fatal height, as the name suggests, is to see who can fly the highest. Only 4 people can advance in each of these tests. That is to say, if only 4 people choose one test, then no matter what the score of these 4 people is, they will advance directly. If someone is unlucky and 99 people choose the same test, then all 99 people have to compete for the 4 spots in this test. What a troublesome match. Isn't there a direct match? Originally, there were, but in order to accommodate a picky judge like you, we added some special events to the competition. Old Zhang, you're too picky. Anyway, that's the situation. Which category are you in charge of? Zhang Tianyi asked. Aren't there 7 judges? I don't think I need to be in charge of one category for the 4th match, right? None of the 4 suits me, the old shaman said. I'm a shaman. My power comes from nature, but these extreme environments aren't natural environments. They're very effective against me. My performance might not be as good as some contestants. I don't want to embarrass myself, so I'll be absent for the 4th match. I can be in charge of the extreme hot environment, Bifla said. I can be in charge of the extreme cold environment, Mary, the 23rd blood, said. I'm not good at high altitudes or extreme depths, Wushu said. My situation is similar, Qingping said. Taoist spells can allow you to ride the clouds, but you can't fly too high. Me too. Zhang Tianyi said helplessly. But my water escape spell can be used a little. So I can only choose the high altitudes? Yes. Okay, I'll be in charge of the high altitudes. The assignment for the 4th match was completed. The old shaman, Qingping, and Wushu were absent from the refereeing. The flaws in their spells were too obvious, so they took the initiative to give way. Chen Zhao couldn't blame them. He couldn't force them to do it, right? Just then, Zhang Tianyi's phone rang. Then it was Mary, the 23rd blood, and Bifla's. Chen Zhao was confused. All 3 of their phones rang at the same time. Did they plan this beforehand? Zhang Tianyi picked up. I'm Zhang Tianyi. Grandmaster, something happened. Something big happened. What happened? The incident in the ether world has been exposed. Exposed? Yes, dozens of media outlets around the world have obtained a videotape. Now all the TV stations are broadcasting the supernatural events in this videotape. What? How could this be? Do you know who exposed it? I don't know. I haven't gotten any useful information yet. It was an anonymous person who sent it to the TV stations. The whole world is in an uproar now. Everyone is seeking and waiting for an answer. Hearing the news, Zhang Tianyi had mixed feelings. In the end, it still happened. Just as Zhang Tianyi had guessed, information spread at an indescribable speed in this era. It had only been a few minutes, but everyone already knew about it. Bifla and the 23rd generation Blood Mary also ended their conversation at this time. They looked at Zhang Tianyi in shock. Did something happen? Chen Zhao realized that all 3 of them had strange expressions. Take out your phone and search the ether world. Soon, Chen Zhao understood what had happened. The spiritual world had finally been completely exposed to normal people. This time was different from all the other times. In the past, the media had discovered supernatural events. But the governments had easily covered it up. This time, it was completely exposed. The governments couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. Chen Zhao found news about the ether world on the internet. Or rather, it was a 10-minute video. It was a battle between a few contestants and a magical beast. In the end, they sacrificed one person in order to eliminate this magical beast. Chen Zhao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, he wasn't filmed. Otherwise, it wouldn't just cause an uproar but panic. Chapter 31-39. The Ether World incident was like a depth charge. At first, the depth charge created a huge wave when it hit the water. But it soon calmed down. This was because all the governments were trying their best to cover up the incident. To cover the existence of the spiritual world. It was just a short day of peace. On the third day, the depth charge finally showed its true power. More things were revealed by people with ulterior motives. This time, even the governments could not cover it up. This was a characteristic given by the times. Information flowed too quickly. Before the governments could react, the information was already widely spread. With the Ether World incident, more supernatural incidents were revealed. Even many genuine spiritualists had appeared on TV. They were no longer the scammers who used the name of spiritualist in the past. Those who appeared on TV this time were almost all genuine spiritualists. Even the unwritten rules of the spiritual world could not stop them. More and more people believed and accepted the existence of the spiritual world. Chen Zhao enjoyed the sunlight on the balcony lazily. It seemed like the exposure of the spiritual world did not affect him at all. The social order still existed. It did not collapse because of the existence of the spiritual world. A cheerful and childish ringtone sounded. Chen Zhao picked it up. "Hey, Steven, what's up?" "Hey, Chen, you're a spiritualist, right?" "Sort of." "You already know. Why are you asking me now?" "Chen, do you know any other spiritualists?" "What do you want?" "If it's some supernatural incident, I should be able to take care of it." No, Steven said. "I just signed a TV project with PLM. I need some spiritualists." "Have you finished the movie with Grove?" "Not yet. It'll be released on Christmas. It's in post-production and promotion." "You want a spiritualist to film a TV series?" I'm not sure if I can find one for you. I'll ask someone I know." "Why do you need a spiritualist?" "They can do special effects too, right?" "To be realistic. Also, the topic of the spiritual world has been too popular these days. I want to make this TV series to make use of it. You're a top director in Hollywood. Won't you look bad if you film a TV series?" "As long as the price is high, I'll do it even if you want me to film a TV series." "Then what price can you offer?" "I don't know how the people in the spiritual world charge. Do you have any suggestions?" "If it's an ordinary, low-level one, they'll treat you like a grandfather for a few $100 or a few $1,000. If it's more expensive, you'll need tens of thousands of dollars. I can even get you hundreds of thousands." "How much does the most expensive one cost?" "You can't afford it." "Are you looking down on me?" You can take a look at Pope JD. 1 to 200 million USD. Are you sure you want to invite them to show their faces? I can help you contact them for free. Jalanash exhaled. It was indeed hard for her to maintain such a huge fireball. But she still accepted it for the generous reward. After dispersing the fireball, Jalanash rested for a while. Whoosh! Jalanash waved her arm and thousands of spheres appeared around her. There were red, blue, yellow, and green spheres. Chapter 31-40. Steven's eyes almost popped out. He'd seen Chen Zhao fight before. But when Chen Zhao had done it before him, there was no beauty to it at all. He'd killed a monster with one punch. The scene was bloody, but there was no beauty at all. It couldn't even compare to Jalanash. It was too dazzling. Stephen couldn't think of such a beautiful scene no matter how hard he tried. Of course, the scene was beautiful, but it wouldn't be beautiful at all if it was thrown onto someone's body. Can you throw these colored balls out? If you want me to destroy all the surrounding buildings and kill everyone, I can do it, Jalanash said. These elemental balls will bombard everything around indiscriminately. They don't have a specific target. All right, put it away, put it away. Stephen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He suddenly felt a little terrified. After that, Stephen asked Jalanash to demonstrate a few more spells. Anyway, what he wanted was gorgeous and exaggerated magic. As for power, his target audience was regular people anyway. Regular people didn't know how effective these spells were. They just needed to be eye-catching. Stephen was very satisfied with Jalanash. He didn't know what level she was. But judging from Chen Zhao's tone, Jalanash should be a high-level spiritualist. So, Stephen wasn't stingy. He gave Jalanash a very high price. After Jalanash signed the contract, Stephen called Chen Zhao. Chen, I've signed a contract with Miss Jalanash. How about it? Do you want to act too? Forget it. I can't do magic as colorful as Jalanash, Angelina said, shaking her head. Don't. I know you. You can't do beautiful spells, but you're definitely better than others in a fight. Hearing Stephen's words, Chen Zhao couldn't help but roll his eyes. What a joke. Film a fight? You probably don't know how scary animal protection organizations are, right? In America, human rights organizations, child protection organizations, and animal protection organizations were known as the three most righteous terrorist organizations. Be it stopping the filming of a movie, stopping the production of a factory, or stopping the operation of a company, as long as they had something on them, they could make anyone want to die. So, if they could avoid animal abuse, discrimination, and violating minors, they would try their best to avoid it. No, not try their best. They definitely couldn't appear. Chen Zhao was sure that if he and Stephen filmed some super violent scenes, Stephen and Chen Zhao wouldn't care. There would definitely be huge trouble. Then how much will you pay me? Get lost. Do you need my appearance fee? You also know that I don't lack that bit of appearance fee. You're planning to let a super rich person on the Forbes list make a cameo appearance for you? Don't you think you're going too far? Fine. Recommend me a few more. Miss Jalanash alone isn't enough. Just ask Jalanash to recommend you. She basically knows everyone I know. She knows what effect you want. Well, are you not in LA? You just found out? Nonsense. It's been a long time since we last contacted each other. If I hadn't contacted Famtis and heard that she's piloting a plane, I wouldn't even know you were out. Where are you now? In a secretive place, Chen Zhao said. I can't tell you. Although the spirit world had been completely exposed. However, the 100 Ku Islands still did not allow ordinary people to enter. Thus, Chen Zhao could not reveal the location of the 100 Ku Islands. Alright, you're being so secretive. Now that the whole world knows about the spiritual world, why are you still being secretive? I thought that being mysterious would increase my charm. I really want to find the guy who exposed me and beat him up. He hung up the call with Stephen. He was thinking about the next competition. He was in charge of the high-altitude event. It was a competition to see who could fly higher. Because not every contestant can fly. Therefore, it had its own limitations. This had nothing to do with strength. It was related to the magic system they practiced. Those who could fly might not participate. Those who participated in the competition were basically outstanding in the flying event. Of the 100 contestants, less than 10 chose the flying event. More accurately, there were only 8. 8 people fought for 4 spots. The elimination rate was 50%. It wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. On the day of the competition, all 8 contestants came to report to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao brought an altitude measuring device. It was worn on his wrist like a watch. Chen Zhao tested it. It was very accurate. None of the 8 contestants were convinced. They were all glaring at each other. If Chen Zhao was not present, they would probably have started fighting. Because the high-altitude event didn't have any special requirements for the environment, Chen Zhao was given a normal island. It was only a few square kilometers and had some sparse vegetation. Chen Zhao glanced at the 8 contestants. Okay, who's first? Chen Zhao asked after looking at the list. Mr. Judge, are you sure you can judge my results? One of the contestants looked at Chen Zhao arrogantly. Okay, shut up. If you want to compete, then compete. If not, scram. If you keep talking, I'll eliminate you manually. The contestant's voice stopped. His expression was ugly. He clenched his fists, as if he was about to lose control of his emotions. Chen Zhao flicked his finger to the side. A 1,000-meter gap appeared beside him. At the same time, a force whizzed past the sea on the other side of the island. The contestant immediately controlled his emotions. The other contestants all looked mockingly at the contestant who'd provoked Chen Zhao. This contestant clearly didn't have high EQ. No matter how confident or arrogant you were, you shouldn't provoke a judge. He didn't even understand such a simple logic. The contestant was definitely from some big family. Everyone spoiled him at home. That was why he felt like he was second to the heavens. The contestant snorted and buried his dissatisfaction. The next moment, a pair of pure white wings suddenly extended from the contestant's back. Whoosh, the contestant suddenly soared into the sky. Chen Zhao also flew up, following closely behind the contestant. Eat my fart, the contestant muttered to himself as he flew upward with even more effort. Chen Zhao still followed behind expressionlessly. Chen Zhao was not optimistic about his results. Even if he used the holy light spell, Angel Wings. If it was just flying or speed, Angel Wings was indeed very outstanding. But they were competing in height now. It wasn't the height that limited the contestants. It was the thin air and cold at high altitudes. If they went any higher, they would have to face the problem of cosmic radiation after passing the thin oxygen layer. Chapter 3141. The early stages of flying weren't difficult at all. As long as you could fly, anything was fine. In the troposphere within 10,000 meters, apart from feeling the gravitational effect decrease, the higher you went, the easier it was. But after the troposphere, you reached the stratosphere. Then you started to feel uncomfortable. The temperature plummeted, the oxygen thinned, and the radiation increased. It could be said that the real test was above 10,000 meters. So, the contestant just flew up without any protection. To Chen Zhao, the contestant was just using his ignorance to show his incompetence. Just as Chen Zhao had guessed, when he reached 8,000 meters, the contestant's body started to be covered in frost due to the temperature. At the same time, his limbs became stiff. The cold would cause body fat to be depleted several times faster than normal. So, the contestant used up a lot of energy. Spiritualists had better stamina than regular people. But as long as he wasn't an enhancer, his stamina wouldn't be that good. The contestant stopped at 9,000 meters. Chen Zhao didn't say anything. He just hovered in front of the contestant. The contestant's face was as cold as ice. He'd been proud of his flying ability. But now, it seemed that he was completely exhausted. But Chen Zhao still looked relaxed. The contestant cast a recovery spell on himself. Then he flew up again. Chen Zhao shook his head slightly. If he was willing to cast a defensive spell now, his result would be even better. It was just as Chen Zhao had expected. The contestant flew another 1,000 meters and then couldn't go any higher. The contestant was clearly unwilling to give up. He wanted to continue climbing. But the next moment, he suddenly felt dizzy. The world spun and he fell. Chen Zhao grabbed the contestant and landed on the ground. As soon as the contestant landed, he pushed Chen Zhao away. You interfered with my competition. I can go higher. When did I say I needed you to do anything? I want to complain. Chen Zhao sent the contestant flying with a slap. He stared at the contestant coldly. You're eliminated. The other contestants all looked at him mockingly. Putting aside the contestant's result, he went against the judge right after he landed. He was asking for death. This wasn't a sports competition. In a supernatural competition, the judge had a lot of power. As for how much authority they had, it mainly depended on the strength of the referee. The referee in front of him was obviously very powerful. He didn't understand the situation at all and openly questioned and criticized the referee. If this wasn't courting death, what was? However, this was also good. With one less person, there were only 7 contestants left, and they were fighting for 4 spots to advance. Good, that's good. Second, Feather Lin. Chen Zhao looked at the only Asian present. Lin Yu walked up and cupped his hands. Chen Zhao nodded. You can begin. Mr. Referee, may I ask if I can take off but not land counts as a result? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Soon, Chen Zhao understood what feather meant by being able to take off but not land. Lin Yu squatted down, then with a push of his feet, he instantly rushed into the air. Very quickly. It was obvious that Lin Yu was an enhancer. The strength of his jump was extremely exaggerated. The ground within a radius of more than 100 feet was almost crushed by him. He wasn't flying, he was jumping. Of course, since Chen Zhao had accepted his method, it didn't matter whether it was flying or jumping. Very soon, Lin Yu had reached an altitude of 10,000 meters. His speed did not slow down because of this, and he was still leaping upwards. 10,000 meters, 20,000 meters, 25,000 meters. Chen Zhao looked at Lin Yu, who was almost frozen into ice. If you go any higher, you'll die. Are you sure you want to keep going? Lin Yu's lips were already purple from the cold. He looked at Chen Zhao, who was flying at the same height as him. As expected of a referee. He'd barely reached this height. However, the referee did not seem to be struggling at all. Can you help me land? Chen Zhao grabbed Lin Yu and they descended quickly. Mr. Referee, what's my result? Before I announce your result, you have to prove to me that you can fly. I don't need you to fly very high. You just need to be able to float 10 centimeters above the ground for more than 10 seconds, Chen Zhao said. In the end, this is a flying competition, not a jumping competition. Lin Yu's expression was somewhat unnatural. The others were gloating, but there were also those who agreed with him. Helpless, Lin Yu could only walk to the center. Chen Zhao thought of himself in the past. If an enhancer wanted to fly, he had to meet a special condition. He had to fuse magic into his body. Magic was lighter than air. When his body was filled with magic and reached a critical point, his body would be able to float. Because this condition was so strict, Chen Zhao even flew later than Jalanash. Chen Zhao felt that Lin Yu had probably reached his previous level. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yu started fusing his magic into his body. It seemed that he knew the trick too. Gradually, the surroundings started to lose gravity. The stones around him started to float weightlessly. However, they were very low, only slightly above the ground. Lin Yu increased his magic output and creation. It was obvious that he was having a hard time. Gradually, Lin Yu started to leave the ground. His feet started to rise into the air. Okay, that's enough, Chen Zhao said. Lin Yu, 25,000 meters. Chen Zhao looked at the crowd. Third, Oride. Oride's magic was very special. He kept inhaling and then inflated himself into a ball, slowly floating into the air. He flew very, very high. He flew up to 35,000 meters. It could be said that the contestants all had their own abilities. However, they were still made of flesh and blood. None of them could truly overcome the attacks of diluted oxygen, cosmic rays, and extremely low temperatures. At most, they could only protect themselves for now. Putting aside the first contestant that Chen Zhao had eliminated, the second contestant, Lin Yu, achieved 25,000 meters. The third contestant achieved 35,000 meters. The results of the following 5 contestants were 12,000 meters, 18,000 meters, 24,000 meters, 45,000 meters, and 300 meters. The last 2 contestants' results could be said to be 2 extremes. 45,000 meters. Apart from Chen Zhao, there was probably no one else who could reach such a height. As for 300 meters, Chen Zhao didn't even know why he'd chosen the high-altitude event. The 300-meter contestant also had a sad face. He'd thought that 300 meters was good enough. In the end, everyone else used 10,000 meters as the standard. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He didn't even know how bad he was. Chapter 31-42. 3 were eliminated and 4 advanced. Of the 3 who were eliminated, the one who flew 300 meters had no objections to the result. As for the other 2 who had flown for 12,000 meters and 18,000 meters, they were rather dissatisfied. They really wanted to compete again. Perhaps they felt that they didn't perform well. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao didn't give them the chance. What was a competition? If they didn't perform well, they could do it again. How could this be called a competition? The other 2 had this thought and vaguely indicated it. But since Chen Zhao rejected them on the spot, they didn't dare to cause trouble. Chen Zhao didn't seem like someone who could communicate well. To Chen Zhao's surprise, both Elite and Helis were eliminated in this round. Elite chose the deep sea while Helis chose the extreme cold. Elite was a speed-type enhancer. His body was much stronger than normal people. However, there was still a big gap between him and a strength type. He couldn't fly and didn't have outstanding resistance to cold and heat. So, he could only force himself to choose the deep sea. Unfortunately, his resistance to pressure wasn't outstanding. It could be said that he didn't care what event he chose. He was almost destined to be eliminated. Helis didn't have any outstanding advantages in the 4 events. She could fly, but she wasn't strong. She wasn't outstanding in hot, cold, and high-pressure environments either. She had chosen the extreme cold project because her magic was inclined towards the Yin element. Being of the same nature was still good. If she chose to experience the high temperature in a volcano, she would probably explode. As for the high-pressure environment in the deep sea, Helis' body was like a normal person's. So, the 2 of them were eliminated. Chen Zhao couldn't accept it. Chen Zhao couldn't accept it, but it was reasonable. Elite, don't be discouraged. Look, Helis doesn't care at all. Elite scratched his head. It's not that she doesn't care. She just doesn't show it. Alright, no matter what, a loss is a loss. Chen Zhao didn't seem to care. His tone was relaxed. Just be more prepared next time. Hallie lifted her head and looked at him. When is the next World Supernatural competition? How would I know? I'll ask later. Elite and Helis weren't happy. On one hand, they felt that the event was too unexpected. However, this also proved that while they were indeed outstanding, they had obvious flaws in their strength. Chen Zhao felt that they didn't lose anything this time. But in the next competition, it might not be these 4 events. So, I think you should improve your strength in all aspects, and not just focus on improving. When your strength is sufficient, your ability in those events will naturally improve accordingly. But if you only focus on these 4 events and focus on training, what will you do when the next competition doesn't include these 4 events? I know, Harold replied coldly. Engelite was still mad about being eliminated. By the way, are you going to stay and watch the rest of the game or go back to Los Angeles? If you want to go back, I'll have Famtis send you back. Stay. I want to see what kind of people are left behind, Engelite said. Chen Zhao chuckled and looked at Hele Eyes. I'll stay too. Fine. Chen Zhao shrugged. What's the next match? Is it a direct fight? Engelite asked. No. Chen Zhao had just received news about the last competition today. Island 100, Wild Hunting Game. The last 16 contestants will be randomly placed on the island. Then, the 16 contestants will hunt and kill each other. There will only be one final winner. Engelite and Helis were somewhat disappointed. They originally had the chance to participate in this exciting hunting game. Also, almost all the contestants were spiritualists who weren't weaker than them. Those who were able to survive until now, each of them possessed extraordinary strength. There was no doubt about this. In the last match, all the judges wouldn't show themselves. Instead, they would hide in a hidden place. If they didn't have to fight, try not to fight. Try not to show yourself if possible. Mr. Chen. Monica and Taser Agler found Chen Zhao together. Chen Zhao was surprised that they were looking for him together. You two are actually still alive, Chen Zhao said jokingly. Mr. Chen, I don't understand. One of you has 2 parts of the power of Saint Michael, and the other has 3 parts of the power of Saint Michael. As long as you kill the other, you will obtain the complete power of Saint Michael, so you should hurry up and get rid of each other. Both of their faces darkened. Taser Agler gritted his teeth and glared at Chen Zhao. If they didn't know that they couldn't beat Chen Zhao, they would definitely kill him. I'm not Mariah Agel. I would never harm my own family, Tess Agel said hatefully. I'm not Mariah Agel. Have you forgotten the fact that you killed your big brother? Tess Agel was speechless. Fine, I'm joking. I know I had no choice. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Mr. Chen, Monica said. I hope that everything goes smoothly in the hunting ground on Island 100. I hope so too, Chen Zhao said, shrugging. No, I mean that no one can die. I hope so too. But accidents are unavoidable in competitions like this. Our existence is to reduce the chances of accidents happening. We've sold the broadcasting rights to 28 TV stations in 6 countries, Monica said. Monica said, according to our estimates, the number of people watching this match might exceed 200 million. Mr. Chen, do you understand what I mean? If 200 million people see any bloody scenes, it won't be good for either of us. You guys are really one step ahead of us, Chen Zhao said, sighing. He had to admit that this was a very bold attempt. The spiritual world had just been exposed. However, he still didn't know how much the public would accept it. Presenting a top-notch battle in the spiritual world to the public. Let's not talk about the benefits first. At the very least, this was a very risky decision. I have no choice, Monica said helplessly. I've taken over the Agler family. My father, you're still calling him father? Tess Agel said unhappily. Monica rubbed her forehead and continued, before he died, the family's business was already facing huge problems. Now that he's dead, those problems are directly exposed. I have no choice but to take a gamble. As for the result, I don't think about it anymore. I have to solve those problems first. Are you short of money now? Mr. Chen, I'm afraid you can't help even if you want to. We don't lack a bit of money. Even selling the broadcasting rights can't fill the hole. Chapter 3143. Monica hesitated, but she still said, $3.5 billion. But as long as we have $1 billion, our family's crisis can be temporarily resolved. Who do you owe so much money to? The bank, Monica said. My father, he mortgaged the 100 Ku Islands to the bank. I don't know where he invested the money, but the income from the 100 Ku Islands isn't enough to pay the bank loan, not even in installments. Chen Zhao touched his nose and smiled. If I help you pay the bank loan, what can I get? What do you want? 50% ownership of the 100 Ku Islands, Chen Zhao said. The 100 Ku Islands belong to the Aigel family, Monica said firmly. It's going to become the bank soon, and the Aigel family will soon lose everything like most small families. You're taking advantage of the situation. I thought it was a timely help, Chen Zhao said, not taking it seriously. Do you think you can get the 100 Ku Islands just like that? Monica looked at Chen Zhao angrily. Of course. You have the right to reject me, but you don't have the right to reject the bank. I'll buy the 100 Ku Islands from the bank at a lower price. I'm sure they'll want to get rid of this hot potato as soon as possible. I won't let you get away with it, Monica, don't be so hostile to me. I'm not planning to use violence or hostile takeover. I'm just giving you a chance to choose, Chen Zhao said with a smile. Chen Zhao smiled. You can refuse. That's your right, but the other choice is the wiser one. Monica got even angrier. Taser Agler pulled Monica's wrist. Mr. Chen, your share is too high, Taser Agler said. High? You have to pay the bank $3.5 billion. This means that when your father mortgaged the 100 Ku Islands, he probably only mortgaged $3 billion. Now, I'm spending $3.5 billion just for 50% ownership. My asking price is already very low. You should be glad. But this still can't hide the fact that you're taking advantage of the situation. That bastard mortgaged $3 billion doesn't mean the 100 Ku Islands are only worth $3 billion. Ha! Come on. In my eyes, the 100 Ku Islands' greatest value is the production and sale of magic raw materials. But how many magic raw materials can they produce? Could it be sold for $100 million a year? Based on $100 million per year, even if you use all of this money to repay the bank, I'm afraid it will only be enough for the interest. In other words, you may never be able to repay the principal you owe the bank. Am I right? Now that the spiritual world has been completely exposed, the Bhikkhu archipelago has great potential and can be used as a tourist island, Taisagel said. Hee hee. I also have an island with an area of only a dozen square kilometers, but now the reclamation project has doubled the area. It is less than 500 kilometers from Los Angeles, and its geographical location is excellent. But even so, in order to develop that island into a tourist island, I invested $20 billion. The Bhikkhu Islands is so large, and it is located in the high seas. Its geographical location is quite inconvenient. How much money would it take to build a tourist island? A base of $100 billion, with no upper limit. This is destined to have nothing to do with you, because you can't come up with so much money. And if you attract foreign capital, your final result will be that you will be swallowed up by those capitalists. Also, is the Bhikkhu archipelago really suitable to be a tourist island? Before long, supernatural classics from all over the world will gradually appear. By then, how competitive will the Bhikkhu archipelago be? Taisagel could no longer refute Chen Zhao's words. Then you won't swallow the Bhikkhu archipelago? We can sign a magic contract, Chen Zhao said with a smile. Why do you want the ownership of the Bhikkhu archipelago? I still have a lot of curiosity about the Bhikkhu archipelago. Before that curiosity is completely answered, I feel that the Bhikkhu archipelago is valuable. You don't plan to develop the Bhikkhu archipelago? If we jointly own 50% of the ownership, then I will take out $10 billion for development and construction. Can you take out the same amount? This, as long as you have the idea of developing the Bhikkhu archipelago will be completely annexed by me one day. Your Aigel family will also be completely expelled by me. If you want this result, I don't object. Taisagel and Monica glanced at each other. Both of them had already wavered, but they were also very hesitant. They still regarded the Bhikkhu archipelago as their family's private property. They still could not accept Chen Zhao wanting to touch the Biku archipelago. Moreover, they were also worried about Chen Zhao. Because of this deal, they would always be at a disadvantage. They were worried that one day, they and their sister would die for no reason. Once Chen Zhao wanted to kill them and completely swallow the Biku archipelago, they would not even have the ability to resist. Chen Zhao's power made them shudder. Even with a magic contract, it was very difficult to guarantee their safety. Because a magic contract was not omnipotent. If Chen Zhao wanted to kill them, a mere magic contract was not enough to guarantee their safety at all. I hope that when we sign the magic contract, there will be witnesses with enough weight. Witnesses with enough weight? Who do you want as a witness? I hope that all the referees of this year will be present. Go and invite them yourself. No, you go and invite them, Taesagel said. He knew very well that with his and Monica's status and seniority, it was almost impossible to invite all the referees of this year. Although Monica was now the head of the Agel family. What did they have to do that the big shots would not even look at them? This was also the Agel family's current tragedy. The illustrious Agel family had to rely on others to exist. They even had to find other people to be witnesses to protect themselves. Chen Zhao rubbed his forehead. It was naturally no problem to invite those people. However, he had just blackmailed Zhang Tianyi. If he went to find Zhang Tianyi now, he would probably be blackmailed instead. Zhang Tianyi would definitely not miss such a good opportunity. Right now, Chen Zhao was not willing to personally deliver him to Zhang Tianyi's mouth. What a headache, I can invite the others, but you, old Zhang, Chen Zhao said. Tess Agler frowned. Why? I'm not familiar with him. Fine, we'll invite Zhang Tianyi. Chapter 3144. The final hunting game began. The 16 contestants were placed at random spots on Island 1. There were thousands of cameras on the first island, which were used to record the live broadcast. Chen Zhao had already checked the surrounding cameras and intentionally avoided them. It was a live broadcast, but the content was delayed by about 30 seconds. This was to ensure that there wouldn't be any uncontrollable or illegal scenes. But the director's job was also very troublesome. Because the competition had to be complete. If a contestant suddenly did something and the director suddenly cut to another scene, it would affect the integrity of the competition. So, the referee had to control the scene. Just then, Chen Zhao heard a woman's cry for help. A woman? Cry for help? This was the hunting arena. Where did a woman come from? Would the contestants call for help? He saw a woman being chased by 2 contestants. However, the situation wasn't at the point where the woman needed to call for help. Chen Zhao understood after thinking for a bit. The woman was adding drama to the show. He didn't know if the 2 contestants chasing her were together. Or maybe they were working together. Chen Zhao watched the 3's performance with interest. The 2 women in front were smart, but the 2 men behind weren't necessarily stupid. They knew that they were playing the role of the bad guys on TV. But they also knew that they were here to win, not to act. They wouldn't give up their strategy for an unreachable audience. Suddenly, a figure passed by the 3 chasing people. First, the shoulder of the woman running in front was cut off. Then, the abdomens of the 2 behind were cut off, as well as their arms. At the same time, a row of plants along the way was cut in half. Chen Zhao gasped. So fast. Even he could only see a blurry figure. The 3 of them screamed in pain. The woman in front clutched her shoulder that had been cut off in pain. Chen Zhao was hesitating about whether to help. The woman actually pressed her shoulder against the cut. Then the cut started wriggling and the flesh started fusing with the shoulder. Chen Zhao's eyes widened. This woman's life force was so strong. She could actually forcefully activate her flesh cells. In the spiritual world, no healing spell was as effective as life force. It also wouldn't leave any side effects. The two contestants chasing her weren't so lucky. They cried out in pain. This kind of injury was already fatal to them. Chen Zhao saw the figure turn back. Suddenly, Chen Zhao reached out and pulled the two contestants away from the figure. The figure paused for a moment, but then rushed towards the woman at an even faster speed. The woman's reaction was not slow. The moment the figure stopped moving, she had already cast an advanced shield on herself. However, the woman's advanced barrier shattered the moment the figure arrived in front of her. Chen Zhao's pupils constricted. Shangqing realm. That figure was from the Shangqing realm. Moreover, it was a speed type enhancement type. In that instant, the woman's shield was squeezed by the small world, which was why it instantly disintegrated. This was the first time Chen Zhao had seen someone in the Shangqing state among the contestants. There was no way he could win. Those below the upper clarity realm had no chance of winning against those at the upper clarity realm. This was not the same as when one was below the Shangqing state, where they could restrain each other with their techniques and magic systems. The Shangqing realm and those below were two completely different concepts. As long as they could not cross that chasm, it would be impossible to make up for this gap. The woman finally panicked. She felt a fatal threat. Chen Zhao's expression changed. This person was not only terrifyingly strong. Every strike was a destructive force. His methods were also extremely cruel and fatal. Chen Zhao pressed down from a distance, and the figure paused again. He looked in Chen Zhao's direction. Chen Zhao also saw the person's face clearly for the first time. An underage? Chen Zhao was even more shocked. He had the power of a Shangqing realm cultivator at such a young age? Wasn't this talent too good? However, that slightly immature face was filled with coldness. Kill. A murderous aura rushed towards Chen Zhao. Such a strong murderous aura. This kid had probably killed more than Chen Zhao. The youth moved and broke free from Chen Zhao's small world suppression. He flashed behind the woman. He did not give up on killing the woman. The woman faced the youth who was completely above her. She had no way to resist at all. She could only stay where she was, unmoved. On the other hand, Chen Zhao fought with the youth in the air. The youth's aura grew stronger and stronger. His movements became more intense and ferocious. "You can't stop me," the youth suddenly said. The next moment, the youth abandoned the woman and ran into the distance. Chen Zhao frowned as he watched the youth leave. Then he looked at the contestant list in his hand. Sidara's Curry, 14 years old. Aggrandizement and speed type. Genius. Although the name list didn't state the young man's strength, it recorded his past achievements. He was very outstanding, but not to the point where he could crush all the contestants. But this time, the strength that he had displayed was on a dominating level. This was very abnormal. Did he use some special magic potion? But what kind of potion could reach such a terrifying level? Chen Zhao glanced at the woman and the two contestants lying on the ground. He was about to announce that they were eliminated. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. "Chen Zhao, there's a problem. I encountered two Shangqing realm contestants," Zhang Tianyi said. "So what if you encountered Shangqing realm contestants?" Chen Zhao said nonchalantly. "I encountered them too." "No, the problem is with the Shangqing realm contestants. The strength they displayed is completely illogical." "So what?" "Maybe they were hiding their strength before. One of them is my disciple." "Do you think I don't know my disciple's strength? What are you trying to say?" "Not only did they become unprecedentedly powerful, but they've also become arrogant and bloodthirsty. Maybe, your disciple has reached his rebellious phase. Just beat him up. You still don't understand. They are controlled by something. Their strength is far beyond the Shangqing realm. That thing is giving them power and forcing them to break through. I also want something like that," Chen Zhao said teasingly. "I wonder if they still want new people." Chapter 3145. Zhang Tianyi was helpless against Chen Zhao's attitude. Clearly, Chen Zhao was scared of Zhang Tianyi's tricks. Chen Zhao's response was very negative. Zhang Tianyi was also helpless. It seemed that he couldn't trick Chen Zhao too much next time. Otherwise, Chen Zhao would turn against him sooner or later. It really has nothing to do with me this time. Oh, just then, Mary, the 23rd generation's blood, spoke in the channel. Let me interrupt. Something happened on the main island of the Biku Islands. Suddenly, more than a dozen experts of the Shangqing realm appeared and attacked the neighborhood without warning. Some ordinary people came to the island for the final. They are mainly staff of some TV stations. They are taking pictures and filming on the island. Everyone was shocked. More than 10 Shangqing realm experts. Where did these Shangqing realm experts come from? Also, what kind of damage could a dozen Shangqing experts do? Putting Chen Zhao aside, a normal Shangqing expert could destroy a city if he had enough time. It would take less than half a day for a dozen Shangqing realm cultivators to make an entire island disappear. I suddenly have a bad feeling about this, Bifla chimed in. Are they going to completely ruin the spiritual world and turn the entire ordinary society against it? The old shaman asked worriedly. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Such a situation could really happen. Just like in the X-Men movies. Superhumans were above ordinary people because of their own strength. They were also a great threat to ordinary people. Plus, some people would incite them. Ordinary people and superhumans would become opposites. Right now, their situation was very similar to the superhumans in the movies. Old Zhang, it really has nothing to do with you? Chen Zhao still doubted Zhang Tianyi. I'm crazy, It has nothing to do with me, Zhang Tianyi yelled frantically. Who else could it be? What do you mean who else? This has nothing to do with me, okay? Stop arguing, Bifla said. The most important thing now is to solve the problem. Chen Zhao and I will go back to the main island and subdue those people. I'll leave this to you guys. It's not a big problem here, Bifla said. After all, there's a director. Some scenes won't be broadcasted. Just then, Chen Zhao's heart jumped. Where's the director? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, if the director was controlled, then no matter what the scene was, it would be broadcasted. Think about it, if some people on island number 1 wantonly carried out a massacre. What would ordinary people think? They would definitely fear and even reject spiritualists. Does anyone know where the broadcasting room is? Who knows? At first, everyone thought that someone else knew. But none of them cared about this. Perhaps from the beginning to the end, they had never thought that something would go wrong in this decisive battle. The mastermind then took advantage of their contempt to hide the location of the broadcasting room. Thus, they were unable to solve this problem from the root. You don't even know? I don't know. I don't know either. Since we can't stop the content from being broadcasted, we can only forcefully interfere now. Zhang Tianyi said, you guys stay here. As long as you find a suspicious target, take action directly. It doesn't matter who they are. If you can't keep them alive, kill them. Then Zhang Tianyi said to Chen Zhao, let's go back to the main island. Chen Zhao was worried that the mastermind had other plans. But even if his brain exploded, he still couldn't figure it out. He couldn't ignore what was on the surface either. If something big happened on the main island, it would also have a huge impact. Chen Zhao flew directly to the main island. At the same time, he called Aluntarai. Aluntarai, I have a situation that I need you to analyze. President, what happened? The streets are in chaos. There's fighting everywhere. Hide and don't go out, Chen Zhao said. Are you guys together now? I'm with Manit. Where's Engelit and Helith? They went out to fight. Someone just broke into the hotel and started attacking. They went with the other contestants to stop that person. I don't know what's going on either. Put it on speaker and I'll tell you guys. Help me analyze it. Chen Zhao picked out the key points and explained the current situation. President. The mastermind might not be human, Aluntarai said. Not human? Why do you think so? President, from the original ether world until now, don't you think that the mastermind's goal has always been clear? It's very likely that the other party is an intelligent species from the world of Warcraft. Of course, the main point is that if the normal human society and the supernatural world are pitted against each other, it won't benefit either side at all. And I can think of no faction or organization that would benefit from this. Even if it's an evil cult, they wouldn't try to subvert the order of the human race. Just then, Manet also interrupted. I think that the other party hid very well, but this move is very bad. It's even a very rough plan. Why do you say that? Take the incident 12 years ago as an example. In the past 12 years, no organization or individual could find any traces of the other party. It's the same with the incident a dozen days ago. The other party has a very hidden plan in every step, but this time, it looks more like a revenge operation. Why do you say it's revenge? Because other than causing destruction, this kind of operation won't actually achieve the goal of turning normal society against the spiritual world. How is that possible? Isn't the current situation dangerous enough? President, it looks like the other party's plan is very dangerous, but it's actually very easy to break it. That's why we said it's rough, Manet said. Aluntarai, you should have thought of it too, right? Chen Zhao felt that his brain cells couldn't keep up with the pace of these two highly intelligent people. Anyway, to Chen Zhao, the situation was very dangerous and unsolvable. He felt that compared to the two of them, he was like a retard. Was this situation really that easy to break? By now, Chen Zhao could already see the coastline of the main island. Even from far away, Chen Zhao could still feel the chaos on the main island. At the same time, he felt Zhang Tiany's aura coming from behind. Chen Zhao looked back. Zhang Tiany wasn't slow. Suddenly, from the direction of the main island, a huge aura rushed towards them. Clearly, the other party was here to snipe them. It was a spiritualist that Chen Zhao didn't know, but he gave off an unsettling aura. Chapter 3146. Chen Zhao didn't stop. Instead, he charged straight at the enemy. The unfamiliar spiritualist's body suddenly swelled, bursting through his clothes. He turned into a terrifying magical beast. The magical beast was pitch black and its back was covered in tendrils of lightning. The lightning seemed to be able to connect with the sky and earth. Instantly, the sky was filled with dark clouds. The magical beast's aura became more and more terrifying. Electricity surged through its body. A dark red neutron star was already brewing in Chen Zhao's palm. But Zhang Tiany's attack arrived first. A sky-high sword energy attacked from behind. Chen Zhao almost thought that the peerlessly sharp sword qi was attacking him. However, the sword qi brushed past Chen Zhao's side. Hiss, the sword energy cut the magical beast directly. 1 slash, 2 halves. Chen Zhao's dark red neutron star was thrown up too. It exploded between the two halves of the magical beast's body. Instantly, the terrifying magical beast turned into nothingness under Chen Zhao and Zhang Tiany's combined attack. Chen Zhao and Zhang Tiany glanced at each other. Neither spoke. Instead, they charged toward the city of the main island. By the time they arrived at the downtown area of the main island, they had already seen a large area of ruins. They also saw many victims. Zhang Tiany's expression was serious. From the 23rd generation's notification until now, less than 10 minutes had passed. But they'd already caused so much damage and casualties. Split up, Zhang Tiany said. Chen Zhao nodded. Then, he turned and headed in another direction. At the same time, he spread out his senses. Dark lava surged out wildly. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang again. It was Monica. Mr. Chen, Mr. Chen. Where are you? Something happened to the main island. I'm back on the main island now, Chen Zhao said. What? You're back? Aren't you? Something happened on Island 1 too, but the other judges stayed there to clean up. I came back with Zhang Tianyi, Chen Zhao said. I need you to do something now. What do you need me to do? Do what? Control the public opinion, of course. This was something Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi couldn't do. It didn't matter how strong they were. That was an individual's combat power. Once they lost the public opinion, in that case, they would be facing an even more serious problem. He didn't need Monica to control the world's public opinion. They just had to control the media broadcast on the main island. This was much simpler. If he couldn't control the end, he would just control the source. Go and tell the world that the 100 Ku Islands have been guarding the seal of the entrance to another world. Your Eagle family is the person in charge of this seal. You shoulder the responsibility of protecting the world. This time, it is a long-planned invasion by another world. Monica immediately understood what he was trying to do. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't come up with this plan. Chen Zhao wasn't that smart. As long as they could spread the news, then the situation they were facing would be completely reversed. Even if it caused huge casualties in the end. Ordinary society would not blame or hate spiritualists for this. Because they were defending against intruders. That was the plan Manit and Aluntarai had come up with. The 100 Vault Islands and the spiritual controllers were no longer a threat with formidable combat power. Instead, he was an unsung hero who protected the world from threats. It had to be said that Manit and Aluntarai were really smart. No matter how hard Chen Zhao thought, he could only solve the problem with force. But they were different. They would just visit the spiritual controllers in a different place. The public opinion would be reversed. Just then, Chen Zhao encountered another Shangqing state expert. The moment the expert saw Chen Zhao, he could clearly feel the murderous intent and hatred emanating from him. Then, his body started changing too. Just like the spiritualist he'd met at sea. His body started turning into a magical beast. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry to kill him. The magical beast, on the other hand, attacked Chen Zhao impatiently. Chen Zhao turned around and ran. He ran to where there were many people. Chen Zhao, what are you doing? I saw you. Why are you running? Go back and kill that guy. Zhang Tianyi yelled in the communicator, flustered and exasperated. Stop joking. Was there a need for Chen Zhao to run from that despicable magical beast? Even if it was him, he could get rid of them in a matter of minutes. What do you know? Chen Zhao cursed. These guys are all possessed by magical beasts. They're clearly not from our world. We have to tell the public that we're heroes fighting against the invasion of another world. Who would know that you're fighting monsters in a corner? We have to pull them out in public and let the whole world see. Zhang Tianyi froze. Fuck, you're even more cunning than me. Zhang Tianyi wasn't stupid. Chen Zhao explained a bit. After Chen Zhao explained a bit, he understood Chen Zhao's intentions. Zhang Tianyi glanced at the opponent he'd chosen. Immediately, he didn't feel good. Why wasn't this guy turning into a magical beast? With Chen Zhao's reminder, Zhang Tianyi knew what to do. Mr. Chen, lure that magical beast to the coast. There's an interview team from Gaul hiding there. Monica also discovered Chen Zhao's tracks. With Monica's reminder, Chen Zhao ran in the direction Monica pointed, intentionally or not. At the same time, Chen Zhao's spreading dark lava had already locked onto a few spiritualists possessed by magical beasts. Every single one of them was a participant. Chen Zhao suspected that they'd already been possessed back in the ether world. Although he didn't know how it was done. Chen Zhao felt that the main purpose of the competition was to find suitable hosts for these magical beasts. If the plan had gone smoothly, The magical beast army surged out of the spatial door. Then they'd possess a large number of human spiritualists and take over their bodies. By then, humans would probably be attacked from all sides. One had to admit that this was very dangerous for the entire world. If Chen Zhao didn't intervene now, he might have to consider how to chase away these magical beasts. Of course, the worst-case scenario didn't happen. After Chen Zhao lured the magical beasts into the camera, he pretended to defeat them with difficulty. Of course, Chen Zhao still used the dark lava to cover his face. Then, Chen Zhao charged at the possessed magical beast he had locked onto. Zhang Tianyi was also acting. Although there were a lot of casualties and losses at every moment, it was still not enough. However, Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi felt that acting was more important. But there were many top-level spiritualists on the island. Maybe 1 or 2 of them were far from the Shangqing state. Even 8 or 10 of them wouldn't be enough. But if there were 100 or 200 of them, then it would be 2 different things. So, after the initial chaos, the eliminated contestants started resisting, whether organized or unorganized. With Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi's intervention, the situation started getting under control. Chapter 3147. The battle on the main island was unfolding like a wildfire. While fighting, Chen Zhao walked toward the hotel. First, he had to make sure that Enrich, Helith, Aluntarai, and Manit were safe. After all, they were on the same side. First, Aluntarai and Manit. They weren't as strong as the contestants on the Biku Islands. Even in North America, they were ranked from the bottom. So, Chen Zhao was most concerned about whether they were safe or not. Although he kept talking to them, Chen Zhao wasn't sure if their hotel was safe. Chen Zhao didn't relax until he reached the hotel and saw with his own eyes that the 2 were safe. Do you know where Helith and Enrich are now? They fought outside the hotel with the other contestants and chased away a troublemaker, Manit said. But they didn't seem to be satisfied and went further away. We don't know where they are now. Why didn't they bring their phones? The 2 smiled bitterly. The battle was too intense, Aluntarai said. It probably affected their phones. Chen Zhao thought about it. When he entered the hotel, he'd indeed noticed the situation outside. There were potholes everywhere. The hotel buildings were also damaged to varying degrees. Forget it. Let's ignore them for now. Chen Zhao had no choice. Come with me. It's too dangerous here. President, we're not important. You should deal with the troublemakers first. Who cares? I have to ensure the safety of my people first. Everything else is secondary. The 2 were strangely touched. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao wasn't in the mood to go along with them. Right now, the entire downtown area of the main island was in chaos. Chen Zhao brought Manit and Aluntarai out of the hotel. A ferocious magical beast came toward them. Then, Aluntarai and Manit saw Chen Zhao tear the magical beast apart with his bare hands. They knew that Chen Zhao was terrifying. But the scene was still very impactful. After walking for a while, Chen Zhao stopped and looked back at Manit and Aluntarai. He realized that the 2 were quickly searching the carcass of the magical beast. But in order to keep up with Chen Zhao, the 2 were very hurried and panicked. The dark lava on Chen Zhao's body spread over, completely swallowing the magical beast. I'll keep this magical beast for you. Whether you want to keep it or sell it, that's up to you. Right now, come with me. This place is too chaotic, and I don't have much time. Oh, okay. Okay. Actually, Chen Zhao couldn't go faster even if he wanted to. He could not escape the battles that came at him along the way. If they encountered danger, they would still have to act. Chen Zhao, where are you? Come and help me, I'm surrounded. Just then, Zhang Tianyi roared into the communicator. Are you kidding me? 3 to 5 monsters aren't even enough for you to slap them. Go and play by yourself. Chen Zhao ignored Zhang Tianyi's cry for help. I'm fucking surrounded by a dozen magical beasts. Hurry up, or else you'll see corpses. Zhang Tianyi hurriedly complained. His tone was rather urgent, and it seemed that he was not joking. Chen Zhao could only carry Manit and Aluntarai on their way. When he arrived at the scene, without saying anything, Chen Zhao cut open the stomach of a magical beast. Seeing that Chen Zhao had arrived, Zhang Tianyi heaved a sigh of relief. Old Zhang, you attract too much hatred. I didn't encounter as many as you on the way here. For magical beasts were already lying at Zhang Tianyi's feet. One of them was a mangled corpse. Why didn't you come later? Any later and I'll be done. Zhang Tianyi scolded angrily. Chen Zhao snickered. You said you were going to die and made me excited for nothing. Even without me, you won't die. Zhang Tianyi was so angry that his beard floated. He had killed 5 magical beasts in a short time. Actually, this was a very extreme move. Some moves could be used once. However, these magical beasts had intelligence comparable to humans. If he kept using the same move, he would be the one to die. Moreover, this move could not be used casually. Chen Zhao had arrived in time. Otherwise, he would really have to fight with his life. Of course, Chen Zhao could see the situation. Go hide behind Celestial Master Zhang, Chen Zhao said to Manit and Aluntarai. Zhang Tianyi took a few steps toward Chen Zhao. Manit and Aluntarai immediately ran behind Zhang Tianyi. Chen Zhao walked slowly and started to stretch his limbs. Suddenly, Manit and Aluntarai heard the sound of something tearing through the air. Chen Zhao's figure disappeared. A hole suddenly appeared in the chest of the largest magical beast. However, this fatal injury did not make the magical beast lose its ability to fight. It was still alive and kicking. Chen Zhao, those things need to completely destroy their bodily functions. Otherwise, they won't die. Chen Zhao immediately changed his strategy. Zhang Tianyi's meaning was clear. Their bodies and souls were separated. However, a simple fatal injury would not be able to stop these magical beasts from moving. The most effective way to destroy their bodily functions was to cut them apart physically. Or it could cause their bodies to change in physical form, such as burning. Of course, physical destruction was Chen Zhao's forte. In Manit and Aluntarai's eyes, this was no longer a battle, but a slaughterhouse. These terrifying magical beasts were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered before Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao was the butcher with the butcher's knife. In just a few minutes, the magical beasts were already a bloody mess. Chen Zhao exhaled. Why did these things attack you? I met an old acquaintance of theirs. And then? And then I talked about the past. And then? Zhang Tianyi took out a strange cane. The two ends of the cane were sharp blades. Chen Zhao did not know what metal it was made of. Then I took this thing from him, and then those magical beasts surrounded me. What's this? A Rubaraka's staff. You can also call it the galaxy's brilliance. This is the divine artifact that controls the galaxy in the Ebon world? Chen Zhao asked in surprise. Yes. Zhang Tianyi nodded. The item's use was limited, but it did not stop Chen Zhao from being curious. You've seen this before? It's an heirloom of the Egler family. Why is it in the hands of those magical beasts? I don't know. Zhang Tianyi shook his head. You're quite familiar with that girl from the Egler family. Now that she's inherited the family, you can ask her. Since I've saved you, how about this thing be my spoils of war? Ha. Chapter 3148. The chaos on the main island of the 100 Vault Islands finally calmed down. Some of the eliminated contestants spontaneously organized themselves. They defeated 3 powerful enemies in a row. One of them was killed on the spot, while the other 2 escaped. They said they won, but in reality, they lost. That was because they had paid a terrible price to achieve victory. They really had to thank the eliminated contestants. There were many righteous people among them. They didn't have many thoughts. They just wanted to protect the peace. That was all. There were also some people who didn't fight the magical beasts directly. There were also some people who did not directly confront the magical beasts. At least, these people didn't fight the magical beasts directly. At least, these people were more worthy of the title of hero than Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi, who were the main force in calming the chaos. Of course, Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi didn't plan to jump onto the stage to receive the prize. The battle on the first island had also calmed down. 2 contestants died. The 3 possessed contestants who'd caused trouble were executed too. The remaining contestants were all subjected to the most stringent screening. They had to make sure that no one was possessed. As for who won the championship in the end, no one cared anymore. At the moment, the outside world was already reporting this incident everywhere. More truths started to be revealed. The 100 Vault Islands had always been the front line of the war between humans and magical beasts. For hundreds of years, there had always been a group of unknown heroes who silently protected this world. They used their bodies to block the magical beasts from the other world. This incident was caused by the magical beasts from the other world. They attached themselves to humans and called themselves the messengers of chaos. It was also because of this incident that this caused the reputation of the spiritual world and spiritualists to rise greatly in the society of ordinary people. At the moment, a few judges gathered together. Everyone had a serious expression, except for Chen Zhao, because Chen Zhao felt that these were things that important people should worry about. He was just a nobody. It wasn't his place to worry about these things. Of course, what Chen Zhao thought wasn't important. What others thought was important. To others, Chen Zhao's combat ability was irreplaceable. To put it bluntly, if normal people really wanted to start a war with the spiritual world one day, Chen Zhao was the nuclear bomb of the spiritual world. What should we do in this situation? Zhang Tianyi threw out the question first. What else can we do? Didn't you already publicize the fake news? Now, let alone ordinary people, even most of the spiritualists in the spirit world think that the 100 Vault Archipelago is really the front line of the war between humans and another world. Then release some magical beasts regularly and kill them within a controllable range, Old John said. This was a classic example of nurturing bandits to strengthen oneself. As the head of the church, John Sr. was quite politically literate. However, Chen Zhao had a headache. After all, he'd killed most of the magical beasts in that world. After all, he had unleashed a powerful move, Meteor. Most of the magical beasts would have been annihilated by that attack. The rest would also have to face drastic changes in the environment. Therefore, it was hard to say how much would be left. Now isn't the time to talk about this. Now that the public opinion has been controlled, the first thing we need to deal with is the demonic beasts lurking among the humans. What form do they take, and when did they infiltrate the humans? The old shaman asked. First is their magic. After my research, I found that they tear apart their power and soul and then merge it into the human body. The process is a bit complicated, but it's not too hard to understand. Zhang Tianyi said, a god-level magical beast can probably split its soul and power into 3 parts or more. Depending on the individual's soul and power, the amount that can be split is different too. Can't they attach themselves to a human with a complete soul and power? Yes, Zhang Tianyi said. If there's a body that can bear their terrifying soul and power, they can attach themselves to a human in a complete state. With that, Zhang Tianyi glanced at Chen Zhao. However, if the soul and power exceed the limits of the body will die at an alarming rate. Even if they're split into many parts and attach themselves to a human, the human body will still die very quickly. At least half a year, at most a year, and they'll die completely. Then, after the physical body they're attached to dies, can they continue to change bodies? Yes, but they need to find a weaker spiritualist to attach themselves to. They also need to split their soul and power into smaller parts, Zhang Tianyi said. Why? Mary, the 23rd generation blood, asked, confused. Because for this kind of attachment, they first need to consider who is the leader, Bifla said. Bifla said, this is similar to possession. If they were to seize the physical body of an expert, they would need to face an even stronger soul and will. In such a situation, the risk of possession would be even greater. Even if the physical body's soul and will are not as strong as a magical beast's, magical beasts have incomplete souls, so they will definitely not be able to unleash their true soul power. In such a situation, finding a weaker person is undoubtedly the most suitable choice. But if they continue to split like this, won't they be able to create a large number of people to attach themselves to? The old shaman asked worriedly. Heh, that's impossible. Souls and power can be continuously split into smaller and smaller parts, but there's only one consciousness. They can control other souls like puppets, but that doesn't mean that every soul is the main body. Especially after the second split, their souls and power will be unprecedentedly weak, and they will no longer be a threat in terms of power. Then if they choose to attach themselves to the higher-ups of the human race, the consequences will be very serious. Ha! Everyone laughed at the old shaman's worry. They felt that controlling the leaders of human countries was the fastest way to destroy human society. In reality, were human leaders that easy to get in touch with? Moreover, apart from a few monarchies, most leaders did not have true absolute power. It was undoubtedly a fool's dream to think that one or two leaders could destroy the entire human race. The old shaman's thinking was rather old-fashioned. He probably hadn't come into contact with human society for many years. He only focused on cultivation, so he didn't understand the current mainstream social structure. Then they haven't been lurking among humans for a long time, right? I'm not sure about the specific time, but if they have been infiltrating human society for a long time, there's no need to make a fuss about it. The real threat period is only the first 2 years after they attach themselves to a human. After 2 years, their soul power will weaken due to them constantly changing bodies. Chapter 3149. Even if they can't overthrow the human order immediately, they can still cause great trouble for the entire world if they're allowed to infiltrate. Zhang Tianyi chuckled. If this really works, they won't need to start a war. Why? Even Chen Zhao couldn't understand. If a large number of elites in human society were infiltrated, it would cause great damage. If a large number of elites in human society were infiltrated, it would cause great damage. Do you think a spell that takes over another person's body will leave no traces? Bifla said calmly, there is no spell that is unsolvable, especially this kind of spell. I didn't notice it before, but now I know. In less than a month, there will be hundreds of detection spells. If a possession spell could overthrow the human order, then the magical beasts of the alternate world wouldn't be able to do it. The native intelligent races could return humans to the Stone Age. There were all sorts of possession spells on Earth. For example, Bifla was the one who had the most right to speak. The possession spells used by the magical beasts of the alternate world were special. But there wasn't any difference at all. In the beginning, it was indeed effective. But once a real war broke out, the deciding factor would be the difference in combat power between the two sides. Since ancient times, no matter what war, stratagems might be able to achieve regional victory, but it was never the only factor that affected the overall situation. Most of the time, winning with numbers and the strong against the weak was the most common. Even War Saint Sun Bin didn't advocate winning with surprise. Instead, winning with numbers and the strong against the weak was the way of the king. The alternate world had already been destroyed by Chen Zhao. The magical beasts that had remained on Earth had infiltrated human society. They'd lost their foundation and they'd become weaker and weaker. Therefore, humans had already won the war between the two worlds. There was no second possibility. Not to mention that Chen Zhao and the other high-level players were still present. Even if they all left and handed the joysticks to ordinary people, they wouldn't lose. The topic of the meeting was no longer important. The threat of the magical beasts that had infiltrated human society was limited. Their real topic was the relationship between the spiritual world and normal society. But this situation had never happened in 1,000 years. Even they weren't sure what the consequences would be of such a complete exposure of the spiritual world. Of course, they hoped that both sides could get to know each other and integrate. But this kind of absolute peace only existed in dreams. To achieve this kind of peace and stability, first of all, no one on either side would do anything to discuss the other. For example, someone jumped out and said that spiritualists were a threat. Or, a certain spiritualist dared to challenge the human order. Since ancient times, there has never been a lack of these two types of people. The only thing they could be sure of was that if a real war between the two human systems happened, it would be over. They would stand unwaveringly on the side of the spirit world. Of course, this was not their choice. Instead, it was destined to be a camp. There was no such thing as defection, nor was there any such thing as neutrality. The competition in the 100 Vault Islands came to an end. Everyone boarded the flight back home as well. Last time, there were 5 people on Chen Zhao's private plane. This time, there were still 5 people. Other than Elite and Hallie's, there were also 3 contestants from the American region, Kendall, Quinn, and the little old man. However, Quasi and the little old man had perished in the middle of the tournament. They all lost their lives in the second round of the Ether World Points competition. Chen Zhao sighed at the island. This time, Chen Zhao also contacted Kendall and asked if he wanted to go back with him. After all, Kendall was one of the few experts in the American supernatural world. Plus, it was on the way. Their destination was Los Angeles. Kendall sighed as well. Who would have thought that the little old man and Quinn, who were close to each other, would die in this competition? Their strength had also been proven in this world-class competition. They were good, but far from enough. There was still a gap between them and the real top. Compared to someone like Chen Zhao, he was worlds apart. This time, he'd truly witnessed Chen Zhao's abilities. In fact, in the first round on Island 98, he'd been assigned to Chen Zhao's assessment area. Then, in the finals, he'd been eliminated long ago, but he'd vaguely seen Chen Zhao's traces. Who would have thought that there would be so many twists and turns in this competition? At the moment, Chen Zhao was chatting with Aluntarai and Marnet. How do you think the exposure of the spirit world will affect us? That depends on the president's development plan for the supernatural organization. How so? Chen Zhao asked. First, fame. With the president's abilities and the supernatural organizations, it's not hard to become famous overnight. Chen Zhao nodded. Aluntarai continued, what can fame bring to the supernatural organization? With new power, more people will want to join the supernatural organization. Wealth and famous people in the upper class will also flock to the supernatural organization. Are they all benefits? No, not all benefits. The disadvantages are obvious too. Once the supernatural organization's abilities are exposed, trouble will come. First is the government's attitude. Aluntarai looked at Chen Zhao deeply. The president is Chinese. Will the government be at ease if an organization funded by the American government is led by a Chinese? Chen Zhao nodded. Anything else? The supernatural organization's growth also means that the president won't have 100% control over the organization like before. By then, the president won't have to assign and complete missions. Instead, he'll have to scheme against others. This is an unavoidable problem for large organizations. Second is the enemy organization, the psionic team, Marnet said. Everyone knew that the psionic team and the supernatural organization were enemies. They'd found out the day they joined the supernatural organization. Right now, the supernatural organization has always been the one leading the rhythm because of the asymmetry of information. The supernatural organization is far stronger than the psionic team, but they're keeping a low profile to maintain the balance on the surface. But if the supernatural organization's abilities are exposed, Will the psionic team still be able to advance in the direction the supernatural organization has planned? Chen Zhao couldn't help but nod. Then what about maintaining the status quo? Are there any benefits or disadvantages? There are two sides to everything. Maintaining the status quo and keeping a low profile can be both good and bad. Of course, no matter what choice, the president's goal is to develop in the right direction. Then do you think the supernatural organization will choose to expose themselves or keep a low profile? You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.